exciting agenda tonight.
Yes.
Very. I have a lot of speakers tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Are we good, Mary, you think?
Probably. Oh, here we go. He's sending it now.
Where's Randy?
Yep, we're live. We're live now.
Okay. Yeah, I bet Randy will be here in a minute. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, September 28th meeting of the Carrboro Town Council. We'll start first here, Mary, with our roll call.
Okay. Mayor Lydia Lavelle.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Councilmember Barbara Fouchie.
Present.
Councilmember Jacqueline Gist.
Present.
Councilmember Randy Haven O'Donnell.
Present.
Councilmember Susan Romaine.
I'm present.
Councilmember Sammy Slade.
Present.
Councilmember Damon Stiles.
Present.
All right. Very good. So we'll start out tonight then, like we usually do, with a poetry reading. I hope we have Fred Joyner here, as usual, to read us a poem.
Hello.
Hello, Fred.
I have a special guest with me tonight, a special guest poet tonight. And so her name is Naomi Sky Joyner, and she's going to read a poem tonight by Lucille Clifton.
Hi, Naomi Sky.
Say hello.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, go ahead, Naomi, nice and loud.
Why some people be mad at me sometimes. They ask me to remember, but they want me to remember their memories. And I keep on remembering mine.
Awesome.
Wow. Thank you. That was wonderful.
Great.
Hey, don't mess around and let her take your job, Fred.
Hey,
That's what's gonna happen.
You know,
we're looking for a youth poet laureate.
I was scared to let her come and do it because I'll be out of a job. So,
Yeah, you know she's adventurous.
Yeah, that was from one of my favorite collections. But my wife said, "Why don't you let Naomi read a poem?" And I said, "That's a good idea."
Bye.
Bye. I like that. Thanks, Fred. Thank you for that. It's a great way to start out the meeting.
Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Okay, so council members, I want to just talk just a quick second about an adjustment to the meeting. We also will have a closed session tonight pursuant to 143-318.11 A1 and A3, one of which is attorney-client privilege. And we also have we've had some emails the last week or two, just a general email about a petition that we need to consider signing regarding the UNC permit, right? And so it seems to me that maybe after we do the Pee Wee home, by council members, maybe Susan or someone could just introduce that. We can very briefly talk about it and go ahead and deal with that. Okay. And I hope everyone got the most recent paragraph that I sent out just very recently to everyone. Okay. So we can do that. I think that'll be a good placement for that. And Mary, would Kat Lazorko happen to be in the waiting room? I haven't looked to see. Do you mind bringing her over for just a minute? Hey, good evening, Kat.
Hello.
I hope I didn't catch you in the middle of eating a bite of food, but
No, it's okay.
I meant to do this last Tuesday, y'all. I really wanted to recognize Kat for this National Communications Award that we received, that we all kind of emailed each other about, and I talked about on the radio and stuff, but it's really, really pretty cool. And for those out there that aren't aware of this, the City County Communications and Marketing Association presented this award. It was announced during their national conference, which was in St. Louis on September 9th. And so this award we got was the Award of Excellence for Town Information Centers in the most creative activity with least dollars spent category, which I think is so awesome. I love that. And Savvy Awards recognizes outstanding local government achievements in communications, public sector marketing, and citizen government relationships. And so we all know that, this was the outdoor kiosks that we've been putting around town. It's been so awesome. We have in Rocky Brook, Oakwood, Rock Haven, Pine Grove, and we're getting really good feedback from those. And of course, and the judges really liked it. Like some of them said they were going to consider exploring similar communication centers in their towns. So I know you don't like any kind of attention, Kat, but I just wanted to pull you over here and make you be in front of us while we kind of give you some thanks for that award, which I think is awesome. And I don't know if you want to make any remarks or not. And also just shout out to anyone watching. If you have a community where you think a kiosk might be of help, please let us know.
Well, good evening, and thank you very much, Mayor Lavelle. I really credit the town of Carrboro with wanting to try something new and something old at the same time. And I think that we're on to something. And I know that with your leadership, we'll continue to try, new things, always trying to reach people really where they are. So thank you very much for allowing me to try some of these new approaches and just being so supportive as you are. And I know this idea is not really original. It did come up some years ago. And but during the pandemic, we certainly did reach, and we reached for every way that we could to try to communicate with people in a very difficult time.
Recording in progress.
The award is on display now at Town Hall in one of the display cabinets. So
Nice.
I dropped a look at that.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, Kat, I'm working on 14 years on the council, on the board and on the council. We come up with lots and lots of good ideas, but it takes staff to take them and run with them and actually put them on the ground. So we really appreciate you. And this award is well earned and deserved. So anyway, thank you for hopping over here and joining us. So
I'm grateful. Thank you.
all right. Thank you.
Yeah, I had something really quick, Mayor Lavelle, if you don't mind, before
Sure.
Kat moves out of the screen. So I just really want to congratulate her. She's doing an amazing job. The conversation last summer, along with I think Councilmember Slade's prompting some years back, it's finally all kind of rolled together, and just realizing that people don't receive nor process information the same, and being willing to move away from the web, and social media, and some of these other things that are just like, a lot of folks are attached to them. But then on the other hand, you got swaths of the community that are not, they're still receiving information in, in more non-traditional, I guess I would say, like through flyers and letters and stuff like that. And just thank you for just remaining open, to our suggestions and being willing to, try something new. And like you said, something really not new, something old. And so kudos to you, Catherine, and just, keep being amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. Susan, and then Randy.
Yes, I want to just agree with every single word that Barbara said. You are really a great gift to Carrboro, Catherine, and I too just appreciate so much of what you do, as to so many community members. I'll be really quick. I just have a quick question. I sent a tweet about the possibility of getting a kiosk at the landings at Winmore, and I just wanted to be sure you saw that. And if it worked out, I know it would be appreciated.
Thank you. I did see that. And I'm actually kind of doing an analysis of all the different apartment complexes. And some areas may be ideal for a kiosk, and others may already have mail centers where we can simply add sort of posting area, a board, or we have an enclosed space might work well. So they're so we're definitely kind of going down the list, and I'm working really closely with Buzzard and Housing and Community to identify the areas that are most in need. But that's a very good suggestion, and it's definitely on the list. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Kat.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Catherine.
Susan. Thank you for that. Randy?
Yeah, Kat, you bring a certain zest to communication that I just think, it's part of what the vibrancy of Carrboro is about. You really feel it. I think that's very cool. I just want to add that back in the day when we were working on the local living economy task force, we talked about kiosks in certain key areas at the time. Of course, we weren't in a pandemic. We had no idea a pandemic was going to come. So, so this, the kiosks now serve, to really thread together community in a way it hasn't been before. And I'd like to say that one of the things we talked about back in the day was looking at parks and open spaces just to, tighten up that net. So that other communities, we shouldn't make the assumption that all of the neighborhoods, know what's going on just because they're, they're closer in or they, they're right near downtown. So in the future, I think that would be great. Part of that conversation, generated the bulletin board at Town Commons going back. So yeah, it's a great idea. And you've been recognized, and your recognition is, of course, the community. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Randy. Thank you. All right, Kat, you can go back to your food or whatever you're doing. So thank you. All right. Okay, so let's see, council members. Mary, we're on now to announcement of upcoming meetings.
Okay, and there's just one on October 4th at 3:00, the Carrboro Tourism Development Authority meeting. That's virtual. And then the next meeting after that is October 5th, the next town council meeting at 7:00. It's also virtual.
Okay, all right, very good. Okay, so moving on now then, folks, to public comment. Yes, Damon?
I have an upcoming meeting to announce. Tomorrow morning, the Durham Chapel of Carrboro Metropolitan Planning Organization Board will have a joint meeting with the capital area, which is the Wake County MPO. We do this at least once a year. And of particular note, tomorrow we will be discussing, among other things, some of those issues that have come up that we've talked about with the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, and some of the pressure that we're trying to put here in the Durham Chapel of Carrboro side of things on changing the way that we plan for our long-term transportation future. So we'll be talking about that with our Campo colleagues tomorrow morning, and hopefully hearing from a lot of good community advocates about that.
Great. Thanks, Damon. Thanks for mentioning that. Susan?
Yeah, two really quick things. The BIPOC Business Roundtable discussion is 4:00 on Thursday, September 30th. And I think folks can still register on the town's website if they're interested in that. And then I also wanted to mention the Chamber for a Greater Chapel Hill Carrboro State of the Community Report is presented virtually on Thursday, September 30th from 8:30 to 10. There's always lots of great information there, and people can still register for that on the Chamber's website.
Great. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Susan. Thanks for that. Okay. And I'll just, while you're mentioning that, I'll just mention a shout out. I know the Arts Center is having their gala on Saturday night. So a virtual gala for an hour. So anyone who wants to join that, you can watch that. You can join it, be part of it with a free ticket. And then there's an auction and other things too going on. So I can go to their website to find out about that. So.
Mayor?
Yes.
Can we do a motion and a second for the closed session? Kathy said I need to make sure we have that to add the closed session to the agenda.
All right. Who would like to make that motion? All right. Motion by Barbara. Motion by Randy. Second by Barbara. All in favor, say aye. Barbara.
Aye.
Me. Aye. Randy.
Aye.
Jackie.
Aye.
Damon.
Aye.
Susan.
Aye.
and then Sammy.
Hi.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, thanks, Mary. So we have lots of people signed up to speak tonight, but I think most of them are here for about the public hearing. But I believe we have 2 speakers here not to speak on something not on the printed agenda. I think Shelley and Kevin are supposed to be here. So I'm not sure. I haven't been in the waiting room yet.
Okay. And there was also Betty Curry, and I believe that's who I just brought over. So I had her on the list to go first. So
I think Betty's with
Is she with the
Kiwi Helms.
She's here for the public hearing.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
here for the public hearing. So we'll hear from Betty in a little while, but
okay. I had it wrong.
No worries. All right, we can see you, Shelley and Kevin. Whoever wants to go first. I can't hear you. Sorry, you're still muted. So we can see the screen now. We see something on the screen. I don't know who's doing that. Maybe
That's me.
There he is. Okay. But Shelley and Kevin, you guys are still on mute. So there you go.
Yes, and we sent over a presentation to Catherine earlier today, which we'd like to show on the screen. I'm not sure if Mary Bryant has that or not.
Yeah, we can see it up on our screen here. So she's, I think, got it up.
Okay. So some of this might be familiar, but really for the benefit of transparency and those watching at home tonight or those who may be watching the archive at a later date. Slide 1 here, you're seeing this is a copy of the notice of violation sent out by Town of Carrboro on September 2019. And that was to order immediately to the merits to immediately cease all grading, all filling, all excavation in the area that no longer is subject to a mining permit. And these activities are not allowed in a watershed residential area. If we move on to slide 2, this is the table of permissible uses located in the land use ordinance. And what you see here is highlighted in yellow is the parking and vehicles or storage of equipment outside of a structured area. So what you see here on the yellow side is this storage and parking of vehicles is not even allowable in a watershed residential area, as you can see in the column on the right-hand side. If we move on to slide 3, this is an aerial photo of the red dotted lines is the area that is not part of the permitted area by DEQ for mining. The white boxes, as you can see, this is a July 2021 picture. The white boxes are the areas that you'll see in a moment that have been excavated. So if you move on to the next slide, slide 3, this shows the areas in the yellow which were excavated, which is a pure violation of the land use ordinance and also cited in the Town of Carrboro notice of violation in September of 2019. We move on to the next slide. You'll see these are the areas where the merits are now parking vehicles and equipment, which is a violation to 10-300. We can move on to the next slide. I referenced this email a couple weeks ago where after multiple emails and multiple weeks, we of a formal complaint to the Town of Carrboro to Marty group in Town of Carrboro Planning, we get an email from Nick Herman, which states, well, this doesn't look like to be part of our jurisdiction. Well, frankly, this area was the source of the litigation you brought against the Merritts back in 2020. So I need to remind you that I'm really not shocked that this is what's happened. And for your town attorney to actually take this position where he believes this could not be in the town of Carrboro's jurisdiction, I find it shocking. And on the heels of
And Kevin,
Lydia
I'm
Lavelle,
sorry, you're at 4 minutes now, just so you know. So.
Okay, and you don't want to hear that, but we'll pick this up at another time.
Okay, all right, thank you. So thank you, and I know that the council will be reviewing this very soon. So,
so I would also like to speak.
Okay. All right, I'm going to read. Wait.
I want to address something that Barbara said last week that I think Kevin and I both really appreciated and thought about several times since last Tuesday, which was, I feel like I'm going crazy when I hear this come up again. And we've said that to each other so many times over the past 3 years. And it occurred to us this week that when you have a value system that you say you live by and make decisions from, but you don't actually act in accordance with that value system, you do feel like you're going crazy. And that's what we've seen the town of Carrboro do. You have a very succinct, comprehensive value system called your land use ordinance. And we have watched you systematically not live in alignment with that land use ordinance. I own a school, most of you know that. And one of the things I tell teachers, it's a little anecdote, is that if a police officer stopped you for going 80 in a 20-mile-an-hour zone, and he came up and he was really sympathetic and he said, I want to give you due process. I want to hear why you were speeding. And I really want to let you know all of the bad things that could happen. If you speed, you might hit somebody, a child might run out in front of your car, you could get a flat tire. Please, please, please don't speed anymore. And then let you go. I want you to be honest. How many people would stop speeding? We stop speeding because he doesn't walk up sympathetically. He walks up irritated that we put other people in danger. He slaps us with a $300 ticket. We have to take the day off of work to go into court. It's embarrassing. There's 700 other people there who are also embarrassed. And then we have to pay $300 for the ticket. And that is why we do not drive selfishly. It has nothing to do with us being inherently wonderful, loving people, although I'm sure all of you are. It has to do with not wanting those kind of consequences. And I teach this to my teachers because the loving way to be with children is to have boundaries and enforce them consistently. And for you to talk so fervently about your values as a town, and yet your behavior does not align with it, you will feel crazy until your behavior aligns with it.
Thank you, Shelley. Appreciate those comments. And like I said to Kevin, the council will be reviewing this really soon. So thank you for being here again. Have a good evening.
Thank you, and sorry.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Mr. Manager, we're moving on to the consent agenda.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor, council members. The first item on the consent agenda is the approval of minutes from 21 meetings, and there are amendments to the September 14 minutes by council members Romaine and Slade. The next item is the amendment to the miscellaneous fees and charges schedule to establish fees for small and micro wireless facilities and rights of way. And the purpose of this item is to adopt the resolution amending the fee and charges schedule. And the final item on the consent agenda is the appointment to the Stormwater Advisory Commission.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Manager. I wanted to ask members, I think I emailed this out. I'd like us to pull the minutes from June 22 and the appointment to the Stormwater Advisory Commission, because I think both of those kind of tie into discussions we're going to have next week around advisory board stuff. And then the September 14 minutes, Susan made some changes, some suggested changes, and so did Sammy, and so did I. And one of the sentences, Sammy, you had, I changed up a little bit. And so I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that yet or not. But if you haven't, we could also delay those changes till next week also. It was a comment I made about what you had said, which I thought was a good comment, and then I made a change to what you said. So, but if you haven't had a chance.
Thanks, Lydia. Yeah, I haven't. I'd like more time to see that. And just could you clarify why we're holding the June 22nd meeting minutes?
I think the reason that we should hold them is because because there's a couple of sentences in it which I think go to this interpretation of the quorum membership kind of thing. That is, I don't think we've definitively arrived at that as a council, and we're going to be discussing it next week. And again, if you haven't had a chance to see what I sent back out late this afternoon, I think we should just put them both off until next Tuesday and just wrap it into that discussion, if you don't mind. And I apologize, y'all, for getting you so much stuff late in the day today. I was with students like from 8 a.m. till like 4 o'clock. So, let's see. And let me just go to the hands that are up. And if you have other questions, Sammy, just chime back in. So we got Barbara and then Randy.
Yeah, I'm not sure how my stuff keeps getting missed. I also had correction to September 14th minutes. So I don't know if I need to do something different. I do what I always do.
It was to September 14, is that right?
Yeah. It was a simple correction, but I did send it in. There was too many words in a sentence. And so I just kind of took note of that. Do I need to do something differently? So, I mean,
we'll just Mary and Kathy will just make a note of it. Maybe I don't know why, but anyway.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, all right, and then so that's a few of us that have had changes to the September 14 one. Let's see, Randy.
Yeah, I had a question, just a short one regarding the miscellaneous charges and fees schedule. If we want to move the other items, I can.
We'll see the other items.
There's nothing left to move.
There's nothing left to move unless we can get together on the September 14 ones. But I think what Sammy wants to look at it later. So let's put those till next week.
So, I just like to ask regarding the miscellaneous fees and charges. Who does this mostly impact? Is it the agencies that are looking to put in the microfiber, or who does it impact most?
Let's see, Mr. Manager, I don't know if you want Daniel or Trish or someone to come over and answer that question. Kind of seems to me like that would be the case, what Randy's suggesting. But I don't know. I guess we should hear from them.
Yes, this is all related to the 5G installations going around the country. So it'd be those utilities that are mainly putting in 5G infrastructure.
Okay, so it's utilities only that would be incurring these fees, correct?
Yes, because it's related to the 5G rollout.
Yep, I just wanted to check. Thanks. I'll move that item if others agree.
All right, motion by Randy, second by Damon. All in favor, say aye. Sammy?
Yeah, I've been raising my hand.
Okay, let's vote on this and then we'll come back to you. Okay.
Are we voting on the?
We'll come back about that. We'll come back. We haven't done anything definitive. We haven't made a motion about the other. So let's go ahead and vote on this. Okay, let's vote on this first. So we're on number 2. We're voting on number 2. So all in favor, say aye. Sammy?
Aye.
Jackie?
Aye.
Damon?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Me, aye, and Barbara.
Aye.
Okay, so the minutes, which set? Are both of them or?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, Sammy,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, so I totally agree. I'm in agreement with September 14th. I haven't had a chance to look at that. And I just saw your email about the language that you're questioning. I don't understand why we would have to hold off for a discussion, given that the language that is in the minutes simply reflects what was the comment that was included as part of the resolution that was approved of by the council. And I think that is part of what should inform our conversation, not the other way around.
Okay, all right, let me find this so we can talk about it. Okay, so what your edit to the minutes was to say that we need to continue to recruit. We need to appoint we have been unable to recruit over the whole winter. We should continue trying over the summer break, but we need to appoint thereafter, as our policy allows for advisory board appointment when the pool of candidates is not diverse if there is no quorum, and it's related directly to the climate team. And we're having a discussion next week about whether this council on our policy agrees or not that we should start appointing to meet that quorum or not when we've never had any persons seated in that group yet. And I know where you're coming from, Sammy, too. So we need to have that conversation next week. And I think the way
Lydia,
this is written,
we're not debating how people's perspective has changed since that comment was made. We're debating what was approved of as the comment when that meeting happened.
that comment was, and also I never even got, I think this was something that Kathy sent to us. I don't even know if I even got the original one that you sent. And I didn't have time to look for it the last 2 hours of today to find out where it came from and in what context it was.
Do you want me to play the video? Because it's very clear in the video what my comment was. The motion was to include the comments. And so I think that you're going about this backwards. This is the sentiment of the council before the summer break. Coming back from the summer break, I reminded the council what our sentiment was, and people don't want to follow through with that because we failed to recruit over the summer. And you're suggesting that we somehow, for some reason, like adjust or hold off on approval of what we actually said on June 22nd, because somehow we're going to have a conversation about that. I would like for us to actually reflect what was the motion and what was included in that motion in the minutes.
Right. Again, I don't know how else to say this any more clearly. I don't think this is what was said. I don't think this council agreed to go ahead and appoint if we don't have a
Lydia,
quorum.
I have the video and I'm ready to play it right now. How do you share screen?
Well, Sammy, this is why we scheduled this for next Tuesday, because tonight we have a pretty long public hearing about this. And I know that this is going to be a long conversation that all 7 of us are going to get in on.
Lydia, the reason why it's important to prove it tonight is because this informs what our conversation is. The whole reason I brought it up after the summer is because we as a council agreed to these comments.
Yeah,
to then say that we're going to have the conversation and then approve of our minutes is backwards.
Well, all I can tell you is the first time I saw
I can play it. We're debating the minutes.
The first time I saw the suggested change to the minutes that you made was something that Kathy sent to us. I can't even find where you made that suggested change. I just saw it today. And I know that I just feel like it needs to be a part of this discussion next week. It's directly related in that discussion. Look, council members, I'd be happy if someone else would wait. If I'm completely wrong, then I'm happy to have Sammy play the video. I'm happy for us to approve the minutes, but I that's the way I feel is the best way to proceed.
Damon, you go ahead, Damon, or whoever. They had their hand. I can go next. Damon, go ahead.
All right, Damon, then Barbara.
I don't have a lot to add other than to say that I'm fine with us deferring this discussion until next week. I think that would be best use of our time tonight.
All right, Barbara.
Yeah, and I'm right behind Damon because this is going to be time consuming, and it will help to inform our discussion next week. I feel like we're just kind of splitting hairs here, and I would much rather wait until next week, considering what we have ahead of us this evening.
All right. Anyone else want to chime in on this?
So Lydia, I'm fine with that. If we wait, we're going to include this approval of the minutes before our meeting like we typically do, I would hope, right? And at that time, if the council hasn't had time to actually look at the video, I will share the screen as I am prepared to do right now. Do you agree? Will we approve of the minutes before our meeting?
You know, I can't speak for the rest of the council.
I mean, we will consider them. Obviously, whether we approve them or not is beyond me, but we will go through normal process and include the June 22nd meetings at the beginning.
It's not, I mean, it's not been typical procedure, the 14 years I've been on the council, for us to pull up videos of other meetings to kind of put things in some context about what we all agreed on. You know,
well,
I feel like that's going a little
this is
far.
like amazing to me that people are debating whether this was what was actually said. I mean, it's almost verbatim, and I've shared it with y'all, and I don't know why we're unable. It's perfectly fine with me if folks over the summer got cold feet about what we agreed to do at the beginning, but I don't think we should contort what we agreed on for the sake of satisfying our current sentiments on something.
Okay, all right, hang on a minute. Let's see what Damon has to say.
Just to be clear, right now, I don't think others are debating or interested in debating what was or wasn't said or wasn't meant by what we discussed on June 22nd or whatever it was. What I'm saying is I think we should defer this discussion until next week so that we can move on to the public hearing tonight. That's it.
I hear that. And what Sammy is saying is that he'll only agree to that if we approve the minutes at the beginning of the meeting before our other discussion. And if we don't, then he's going to show that video before we have our other discussion. That's what I'm hearing. And I'm just simply saying, I don't think I necessarily think that's necessary, or I would be interested in that. But, you know, we'll see what happens next week, Sammy. You know, maybe we'll all try to watch it or try to think about it more and be able to come in more informed, you know, than how we feel like we already are. Right. I can't hear you. You have your microphone on. You have your, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, if we can do that, but if folks are still gonna like remember something else, the video is very clear. I have the prerogative, other people, council members, show whatever they want.
Is Sammy frozen for you guys?
Yes, he's frozen for me.
Okay.
We're gonna wait.
I was just making sure it wasn't me. All right, Sammy, you're frozen up. So, so we're going to put this discussion, we'll get to this next week then, the minutes. God, I hate he's kind of frozen up. Right? Sammy, you froze up.
Yeah, it's bad timing for him to be freezing up.
It is bad timing.
Just going forward without us making some kind of decision here about how we're going to proceed. I mean, if you want a motion at some point for us to defer these matters until next week.
I think he might be coming back in. Is he coming?
Yeah.
Oh no, he's completely gone.
Yeah, he'll come back on.
Yeah. I think we should wait for him to.
We can wait a minute here. But in response to your question, Damon, I mean, we don't usually have to pass motions to defer something until next week.
That's so we're generally able to operate by consensus, but this is an unusual situation.
It is an unusual situation, but I'm not going to be held over a barrel either.
Oh, we're not holding over a barrel. I'm just saying I'm
just saying that's how I see it, Damon. I mean, that may not be, you know, what you see, but I definitely feel that, you know, we're trying to be.
I agree with you, Barbara.
All right, hang on just a minute, y'all. Sammy's back. All right, Sammy, you got frozen up. Can you hear us now? And you're on mute, by the way.
Sorry about that. I'm having internet issues. What did you just say? Sorry, Lydia.
We basically kind of cut off any decision or until you kind of came back with us. But I think we're mainly saying, at least I'm mainly saying, you know, so we'll put off these approval of these 2 sets of minutes and the, you know, appointment to the Stormwater Advisory Commission till next week. But well, I guess, you know, I don't necessarily want to have to commit to approving the minutes before we have the discussion, because I think they're intertwined. I think they're kind of intermixed. But we can have that discussion also at the beginning of the next meeting, if you don't mind, because we've got a lot of folks here for the Kiwi home thing.
Sure, that's fine with me. As long as we remember we're going to have that discussion. I don't expect or require that the council approve of the minutes. What I do expect is that the council talk about the minutes, and even that I am able to show the video, as we typically have any council member do whenever they decide to share their screen. And what I don't want is for us to all of a sudden make another rule because people disagree with me. I find that to be a really problematic way of doing process and conducting business.
All right. Thanks, Sammy. All right. So we voted on the one matter. Sammy, I think you have double. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. So we voted on that one matter on the consent agenda, Mr. Manager. So now we're on to our public hearing.
Okay, there's one item on the public hearing tonight. It's a public hearing on a request from Kiwi Homes to rezone property at 106 Hill Street to R3 conditional R-3 CZ. And the purpose of the hearing tonight is to receive public comment and consider request to rezone the property.
And just, Sammy, just so you know, you're still doubled on the screen, which might get you 2 votes tonight. I'm not sure. We'll have to check with the attorney.
Let's see, who are we having? Tina's coming over. Okay, there we go.
Oops. Good evening, everyone.
Hey,
Mary, if you would please bring over a few other people, just so that they're ready. And that, okay, I see Josh Dalton, and then there's a couple of applicants who'll be ready in the wings. So good evening, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's all right. And we have just a short presentation for you this evening. Okay, success, I hope.
Yes, looks good.
Okay, great, thank you. Partial success. Okay, there we go. I'd like to offer, as to kind of organize our discussion this evening, and order a presentation of the presentations. And so I'll start with a brief introduction and an overview. Then I'm going to turn it over to Josh Dalton, and he'll provide an overview of kind of the stormwater context. I'll jump back on and finish the staff presentation, which will talk about the proposal and the process. And I suspect that the applicants will want to have a presentation after that, and we can open things up for questions and other comments if that sounds okay. So this is your standard kind of overview slide. This is a great example of a relatively small site with a lot of different layers of stuff going on. So I think at this point, everyone knows that Kiwi Homes has submitted a petition to rezone property at 106 Hill Street from R7.5 to R3 conditional for the purposes of developing 3 size restricted, and these are quite small, 300 to 400 square foot affordable homes for rent. We don't get a lot of proposals for rent. So this one is for rent for individuals earning up to 30% AMI, which is, thanks to Rebecca, approximately a little bit more than $18,000 per year. As we've mentioned before, the property is currently owned by the town. Kiwi Homes has gone before the Board of Adjustment to request a variance, and they've been granted that variance, which allows them mainly for the buildings to encroach into the stream buffers, on also some flexibility related to other development requirements, such as the setbacks. And they've asked kind of an open-ended question related to flexibility for the parking requirements and potentially the recreational facilities. And we'll get into that in a little bit more detail a little bit further on in the presentation. When we brought this to the council at the end of June as part of the request to set a public hearing, you were presented with 2 resolutions. And the first one was for the council to agree to convey the property to Kiwi Homes contingent upon the successful approval of the rezoning. And it was noted as part of that, that resolution that there would be deed restrictions to require long-term affordability. The discussion of the 99-year affordability provision was brought up again as discussion, as well as some questions related to the history of flooding in the area and the possibility of daylighting the stream. So I think at the meeting, the town attorney had a pretty good update on the law of privity as it relates to contract law and the use of the 99 affordability provisions for affordable housing. Some additional information came to you by way of email, and there's a little bit more in the staff report. Mr. Dalton provided a memo that was included in the agenda materials. And since this has been a topic of interest for a lot of folks, I'm just going to turn the presentation over to him at this point, and allow him to talk us through kind of the context of stormwater for the site. So Josh, if you take it over from here.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Tina. Tina's pulled up the map of the Broad Hill area, and it's got the stream buffer shown across the parcels. While there are stream buffers here, this is a pipe system that comes down from Lloyd Street diagonally across, basically following the same alignment as the buffers. There was a question I know that was raised before about the potential for daylighting this stream some point in the future. While that is possible, the feasibility of it would be quite difficult because there's 5 property owners that this stream crosses. So you'd have to have buy-in and easements from all of these property owners to be able to do that. The other obstacle is now the buffers. Once you restore that stream, the new buffers would be start at the top of the bank and go out. So that buffer, you see how far out it is just downstream. It would probably expand, and now you would have a lot of other lots that are non-conforming. So those are just a couple of the hurdles of daylighting the stream. Tina, can I share my screen and talk a little bit about the elevation of the homes and see if I can get this? Okay, so this is a Google Street View from the corner of Broad and Hill, looking back across the site. When we talk about elevating the homes on the site, we're only talking about 2 feet above the curb line. So in a historic flooding event, this pipe system flows through the site, and maybe in a hurricane or a 100-year event or something extreme, that pipe system could back up. So the point of relief where the water would flow over the curb is approximately here in the corner. What we're asking the applicant to do is no different than what the 2 adjacent properties are. If you can see the elevation of those homes, their finished floor is just about 2 to 3 feet above the curb line. So that protects the mechanical units of the house and the finished floor elevation from getting water in extreme events. While that event is possible, we do not have any record of it occurring even in the 2013 storm event that was considered the worst storm event in Carrboro. I hope this explanation helps, and I'll be available for any additional questions if needed. Thanks, Tina.
Thanks. I'll go ahead and Josh, if you'd stop sharing, then I can go back. Great, thank you.
Hey, Tina, I don't see Hudson Vaughn as a panelist, just letting you know.
Okay.
He should be added. He's got his hand raised, he said, but.
Okay. So I'll just jump in while Mary, if you would pull Hudson over for the end of the discussion. So this image is intended to provide you with a good sense of what the site looks like. You can see 2 different images here. What's on the left is an aerial, and then the arrow is pointing to about where I was standing when I took the picture on the right. And so that gives you kind of a sense of both both ways of approaching the site. You can see the stream in the aerial view, which is actually a piped stream. And this connects into a culvert that runs under Broad Street and then is daylighted on the other side. A couple important things to note, and I think Josh kind of hinted at this, but I'm not sure if he said it quite outright. This is an intermittent stream. The property is not part of a designated floodplain. This area is not part of a designated floodplain. The existing stormwater features are still here and will remain here as part of the project. So you can see that yard inlet here and circling in the aerial, and then you can see it again in the other image on the right. And the town has also received a grant not too long ago to replace the pipe that goes a little farther under the gravel portion of the road, which is just out of view from this image, as well as to put in a rain garden here. You can kind of see this next to the basketball courts as part of Baldwin Park. Okay. So this image here is this is an approximation, thanks to our great GIS staff, but this is to try to give you a sense of what it would look like if the Pee Wee Home project was to move forward. So you can see the 3 Pee Wee Home footprints. The two larger ones would be facing Broad Street up towards the southern portion of the lot, and then the smaller one, the one that's a little bit more than 300 square feet, would be facing Hill Street. And these have received the variance so that they're slightly encroaching into the stream buffer. I guess you're not seeing the actual stream line in this image, but you can see just based on the way the grass looks about where it is. I'm showing this additional purple image right here because this shows a project, a proposed new home that the folks living on 104 Hill Street are hoping to move forward with. This is kind of it's about 7, I'm sorry, I've got part of my screen covered, so I'm missing some of my notes here. They've also received a variance to encroach into the stream buffer. This is a slightly larger house. They've not yet received a permit for it, but they have gotten the variance. So this is just to give you a little bit of context. And again, the yard inlet and so forth remains in place. As you may remember, the town adopted the Lloyd Broad Overlay District not too long ago. You can see that in the yellow hatched area. And this is important because this was a neighbor-initiated effort to ensure that future development would remain similar to the existing homes in terms of size, height, scale, and placement in the lot. So you're seeing that image, the stars about where 106 Hill Street is, and you're seeing on the right the image again showing the potential 3 Pee Wee homes as part of the project to give you a sense of how they would fit in based on scale and placement in relation to the other existing homes in the neighborhood. This is actually the site plan, and this is part of your packet. And I know that I beg your pardon, was there a question or should we do that at the end?
Wait until you're
Jackie,
finished.
did you have
I'm
a-
sorry. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'll wait till you're finished, Tina.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure that the applicant will go into more detail about this than I will, but I just want to point out a couple of things. You can see in a little bit more detail here, the 3 homes that are proposed. And again, the 2 larger homes are facing Broad Street. These are the 2 ones here on the south. The smaller home would be facing Hill Street. And again, you can see the stream buffer here that's shown with the diagonal lines. The pipe stream is underneath. Again, it's an intermittent stream, and you can see the yard inlet. The proposed setbacks are slightly smaller, but still consistent with the Lloyd Broad neighborhood. You can see the proposed walkways that are impervious pavers that go from the curb to the homes. All of the homes have front porches. The way that the proposal is at this point, after some discussion, there would be some fill such that the height, the elevation from the curb to the front of the homes would be level. And then they would go up from stairs from there, and that provides a little bit more accessibility. At this point, the only driveway that's being shown is for the home on facing Hill Street. I think that's a matter of discussion for you tonight. But by providing this this fill area in the front of the Broad Street homes, there would be the possibility of pulling a car closer to the homes if needed for somebody who perhaps isn't quite so mobile. So that's something worth noting. There's been some discussion of the trees and the interest of retaining this tree cluster or replacing the tree cluster that will be lost. The applicant has been working with staff to try to choose the best trees for absorption, ones that would help with any potential ponding, but not interfere in terms of the root structure with the existing pipes. The open space is met. And there's some interest of talking further about the recreational facilities. A conceptual gazebo or picnic shelter has been shown. I think that's something that the applicant would like to talk about a little bit more. Okay. 6 conditions have been proposed so far, and as you, I'm sure, remember, these have to be mutually agreed upon by the town and the applicant, and they would become binding to the project if it was approved. We have provided an optional 1A for your consideration, and this is based on the interests of the applicant to not have on-site parking. I think that's something that you'll discuss, so I won't go into that anymore. I will note we've made some minor tweaks to condition number 1 since joint review, and this is to reflect the potential interest of the applicant not to have the recreational facilities on site, but instead for their residents to simply use Baldwin Park. The ordinance doesn't provide the same type of flexibility for you to relax that requirement. The option or the remedy would be a payment in lieu, and the applicant has expressed interest that would be something that the town would pay if that looked like the way that we would be proceeding with the payment in lieu. And the price for that is included in the agenda abstract. It's a little bit more than, it's about $6,500. In terms of looking at this project and as we look toward policy, it does seem to be consistent with the town's interest in affordable housing. It does seem to provide the potential for enhancing an infill development which is compatible with the surrounding property and is similar in terms of an aesthetic compatibility. There's been some discussion about the stormwater, which I think Josh has spoken to. Again, it does not, this is not in a floodplain. It's retaining that existing stormwater pattern and ability to access the pipe if repairs are needed. And again, as Josh mentioned, the positioning of the homes would be such that the finished floor elevations and mechanical systems would be above the point where water would become a problem if there was an extreme rain event. So, and as always, when we talk about the benefits of using conditional rezoning as a mechanism, as a tool, the opportunity for public input, the opportunity to attach conditions that will address specific restrictions or specific things for a particular project at a particular site, all of those seem to apply here. And I know that Kiwi will speak to their partnerships with the community as well. So I'll just wrap it up with this quick kind of reminder slide in terms of procedure. Again, map amendments, rezonings are legislative decisions requiring a public hearing. A reminder of when this went to the advisory boards. The public comments that went through planning staff were included in your materials. We did receive one comment this afternoon that was a voice of support of the project. This was technically after that 24-hour window. But I did want to just mention that to you. And I would ask as you begin your conversation that you are sure to go back and talk about those interests of flexibility from the applicant, the condition related to parking, as well as the discussion about the payment in lieu. And just a final reminder, one of the conditions that was approved with the variance was that the town engineer must review the zoning permit application. So because the subsequent permit in this case is a zoning permit, this is your public hearing to discuss this project. There won't be another one that would come as if this had been a special use permit or something like that. So this is the time for public feedback, but it's important to note this condition attached to the variance. So with that, I'll stop, and we can either move on to the applicant or pause for questions.
Y'all, I'm thinking we ought to go on to the applicant, and then after that we can have questions. So let's do that, Tina.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing, and Sarah, if you'd like to jump in with your presentation.
I can do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tina.
Can you give us an idea, just real quick, about how much time that you suggest we spend? I just want to be conscious of I'm not privy to the knowledge of how many other people are going to want to speak, and I just want to be cognizant of that.
I don't know if Tina wants to respond to that or not. I mean, I know I have a list of about 15 people signed up to speak. I don't know if they're all in the room or not yet. Okay. But Tina, do you have any guidance to give Sarah or Hudson about that?
Well, I think the staff presentation was slightly longer than usual, but we're finished. So okay. I think whatever you want for the applicant is your pleasure.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, Sarah. That's fine.
Okay. Well, Hudson's gonna.
All right, I'll get us started.
Hudson's gonna start it off. Okay.
All right. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you again for having us tonight. My name is Hudson Vaughn. I am one of the co-founding board members of Kiwi Homes. As many of you also know, I was a former director of the Marion T. Jackson Center that works in the neighborhood. I'm also a resident of Broad Street, just down the street, for the last 9 years. And my 2-year-old goes to Baldwin Park basically every single day and is very excited about the possibility of some new neighbors across the street. And in fact, has been very much raised by some of the residents in our other PV homes. So we're very excited about that possibility. Just going to give you some background about Kiwi Homes and some kind of general things, and then we'll dive into the specifics of this property, if that's okay. So Kiwi Homes is a 501c3 nonprofit. We were founded in 2016, and our board has folks from all different walks of life. So CEF and Jackson Center founders were parts of the founding, a rector from Church of the Advocate, who you'll probably see tonight, social workers, architects like Sarah, folks who are church leadership, people who are construction backgrounds, and tenants of our actual Kiwi Homes themselves. And so we were folks who came together recognizing the incredible need for affordable housing in our community, and who saw the importance of this actually through the lens of Kiwi. So some people have asked, what is a Kiwi home? And so Kiwi Homes is actually named after Kiwi, who's pictured here in the bottom left corner. Kiwi is has a lifetime resident of Chapel Hill. He was a Mason of the area, and then after a stroke, he became homeless and unable to find housing here. And so the paradigm of somebody who's literally built our community and then could not live here anymore was part of the inspiration. And also Kiwi always was searching for a place that was small and efficient and that he could take great pride in. And so the kind of idea emerged, can we build small, very small units? They're actually not technically tiny homes. They're 300 to 400 square feet. They have foundations. They're connected to water and sewer, but very small units that can help sustain transitions out of homelessness and become permanent housing for folks like Kiwi. And Kiwi actually lives in one of our 5 existing units. And so our mission became to build beautiful, dignified tiny homes for folks transitioning out of homelessness. And so this is a picture of our units out of the Advocate I'll talk more about, and one of our residents at a welcome party. So our model, again, is to build beautiful, dignified tiny tiny homes for folks transitioning out of homelessness. Why so small? Well, part of it was the efficiencies of space and the kind of inspiration of Kiwi, but part was also that we could fit these homes where other homes could not go, on challenging lots, in relationship to churches, which you'll see in a bit, in places that other models of affordable housing were not possible. And so we also saw that this was a niche market. There wasn't enough housing for people at extremely low income levels, and this housing doesn't meet that need. It's simply one piece of that puzzle. So it was also that we have plenty of other affordable rental agencies that do larger housing, that have more bedrooms and that allow for more occupants. One of the really important features of this model is that it provides true affordability. And so I think Tina already mentioned it's for folks below 30% AMI, but our residents, just to give you a sense of what that means, pay an average of between $225 and $400 a month for their housing. And that's based on what they make. So all of our residents have to have some income, although it can be disability or Social Security. So a lot of our residents are on fixed income, and that's their only source of income. And it was also meant to really provide independence within the context of community. And so having people having their own unit, each of our units can house between 1 and 2 occupants, but currently all 5 of our existing units house single occupants. But they're done in community together. So the ideal is to have 2 to 3 units on a site, so that there's a mini community within a larger context of community. So we have a couple units in Northside, several out at the Church of the Advocate. And it's also been really important that we tried to figure out a model that could provide quality design, construction, and upkeep. You'll hear more about the design features from our architect, Sarah, in just a little bit. But for the last units, we've used a general contractor to help build the homes. Early on, we used Habitat for Humanity, but we've moved to a general contractor largely because of the urgency of building this housing and trying to move it along as quickly as possible. And finally, some people have asked about the upkeep. And so Kiwi Homes is the organization owns and rents to folks, but all of the rent, so 90% of the rent goes to upkeep of the houses, to repairs and maintenance over the course of time. 10% goes to building equity for residents. So all residents, every month that they pay, 10% of what they pay also goes to a savings account that they can end up coming back and using for different situations. And this is not, we say transitioning out of homelessness, but it's not transitional housing. So the whole idea of this housing is that people can age in community. 4 out of our 5 residents are over the age of 55. We've worked with occupational therapists, the partnerships in aging, to really make sure that we're providing housing that can provide kind of collective support for folks to age in place and in community. So just to give you an example of that, our 5 current residents came out of a collective 58 years of homelessness and have now had 12 years of collective stability. We've had 0 transition in our 5 units. So between the 3 years or so that each of them have been in operation. So I think that's really important to note, and that's partially because of the model that gives them independence, but also has the context of supportive community around them. So I just wanted to show you some quick pictures. This is our tiny plex over on Craig Street on the Chapel Hill part of Northside that has 2 units that have been now housed for 3.5 years. There's a quote by one of our residents from here later in the presentation. And you can see the inside of the unit. Again, we use hardwood floors. You'll see some of the elements of designs that really make these quality and also fitting in with the character of the community. And here's our 3 homes that we have out of the Church of the Advocate in Chapel Hill. These 3 homes, you'll see you have board and batten siding to match, and the red doors to kind of match the chapel that's out there. So the architecture is really meant to match the surroundings. You'll see our 3 residents here at the top and the supportive community that was building those housing. And so again, just to kind of give you a sense of the texture of these communities. So the context for Hill Street in particular, so several things. I mean, one, we've got council member O'Donnell here, Haven O'Donnell here at a recent rally for extremely low income housing. So there's this urgent need for affordable housing. And you all know that over 5,000 units of shortage in Orange County. And this is 3. So, it's hard to get 3 units, and we have a shortage of 5,000. And that's even increased in terms of the urgency given the pandemic. And so the quicker that we can move forward, in this case, we've been working on this now for 6 months. We've gotten the variances. We've worked closely with town staff and neighbors to adjust and to figure out how to best mobilize this model to fit the character and surroundings of the neighborhood. I think the context for Hill Street in terms of the location is really important. So a lot of folks have asked about why this location. Well, it's across from a park. It's walkable to grocery stores. It's on, a block away from the bus lines. It is everything that people say when they want actual affordable housing in a quality location. The other thing about it is that we have actually in the Lloyd Broad community where I live, there is no dedicated affordable rental housing, not a single unit in our neighborhood. So Chapel Hill, on the Chapel Hill side of Northside, has dedicated affordable rental housing, but Lloyd Broad community has zero. And I think that's really important, that this would provide a diversity of affordable housing in our neighborhood. I also think that having the park across the street, having the access to supportive community, a historic community that has welcomed folks into this neighborhood, as you'll probably hear from folks in the community, this actually came out of a process through the Northside Neighborhood Initiative that mobilized Northside leadership, including residents from Starlight, Lloyd Street, and Broad Street, who actually envisioned using this model on lots that were harder to mobilize. That included many of our multi-generational African-American neighbors. The other thing about this is that some people have said, well, is this land really good for affordable housing? Well, actually, this land is perfect because it has incredibly quality infrastructure in place. You've already heard about the powerful stormwater drainage that is there. It's a really expensive, high-quality drainage system to deal with the stormwater, and we've been able to adjust the tiny homes to really minimize the impact of extra impervious surface to this space. So you have all of the benefits of having that infrastructure already in place while we've minimized the impact of what's going to go there while maximizing the impact of affordable housing. And I just said that, yeah. And then the diversity of housing, I already talked about. Last thing I'll say is that it's really important for us that we put that Kiwi homes go in the power of existing community and infrastructure. So we have a board, as I've already mentioned. We have now a new staff member who's just joined our team, Erica, who you might hear from later. And our board and staff are dedicated to connecting our residents to all kinds of supports in our broader community. So we partner with the IFC, with Orange County, with CEF, with the Jackson Center to really mobilize a much broader network of support that helps folks to be successful in this housing, to build community in this housing, and to really see it as a place they can call home. And so I just really urge you to kind of see that context as we move forward, and the power that it can have in this space, and how excited I am as a neighbor and as also a member of the Kiwi Homes team. So Sarah, I'll now move it to you for the technical details.
Thanks, Hudson. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mayor and Council members, for being here tonight, or for hearing us. I'm also a co-founding board member. My name is Sarah Howell. I am an architect, registered in the state of North Carolina, and I live in North Carolina. My background is in affordable, sustainable housing. I moved to New Orleans a month before Hurricane Katrina, and then continued to live and work there for eight years afterwards, and really became passionate about the need for to incorporate sustainability, beautiful, healthy materials into the affordable housing sector. So that's been my life's work so far. And I'm very excited about Kiwi Homes project. It's a lovely opportunity to have a corner lot like this, and with access to all of the amazing amenities of downtown Carrboro. It would be a wonderful place for our tenants to live. And let me tell you a little bit more about the houses. It's interesting because Tina did a great job of listing off all of the features that we were, about to do with the conditional zoning ordinance. So I don't really have to go into any of that, although I can answer questions. And Hudson's said some great comments about the housing too. But in general, we're trying to provide as much natural light and air as we can in these buildings. Even though they are small, not technically tiny, we maximize light and views, cross ventilation. We have 9-foot ceilings, if not vaulted ceilings, in all of the spaces. And we use healthy materials and high quality materials. And so where we save in the footprint of the house, we will spend to make sure that the materials are extremely durable and extremely healthy. And it is wonderful that unlike other multifamily housing approaches, that even though it's extremely low income housing, that we can have so much privacy and so much of a sense of personal space and ownership. And I think that's something that's really that's unique about our model. And as Hudson said, it's just one piece of a huge puzzle. But I think that these are really lovely spaces to live in. And the prototype for the floor plan continues to evolve because the tiny home conversation continues to evolve. And so we get amazing ideas from contributing members of the community, from the tenants who are currently living in the houses. But something that's very important to me as the lead designer is to make sure that the houses remain contextual. So as the floor plans grow and change from project to project, we're always going to try to study the context of the neighborhood and clad the houses so that they can be integrated harmoniously with the rest of the neighborhood. And so what you're seeing right now is a conceptual rendering, and I think that it'll only become more integrated as we develop the details of the design and we study the context, because we want to really celebrate this neighborhood and the best features of the architecture in this neighborhood. We can address the conversation now, if that makes sense, and also the recreation space. The rendering that you're seeing right now just shows a leveled out area in front of the houses so that you could have a nice walkway, a nice accessible path to each house. These aren't necessarily parking spaces. We are trying to spend as much as we can on the housing itself, and infrastructure, and other unseen costs are of course important and critical. But with something like parking, where we've found from our experience with previous tenants that very few of our members of our tenant population own cars, and in this area there's great access to public transit. It's very walkable. We feel that, and that street parking is not an issue on this block. We feel that parking is not, should not be a requirement for this project. And Hudson, you feel free to jump in if you have more to say about parking.
I can jump in when we do it in relation to stormwater.
Okay, great. And then we're showing a rather modest recreation facility at the center of the lot here. Because while it is something that we feel is very important to provide a recreation space for our tenants, we have the beautiful siting of being right across the street from Baldwin Park. So that's a wonderful and relatively underused amenity in the town. So we would love our tenants to use that space, and again, take whatever cost that would be involved in building an additional picnic structure or gazebo and just put it into the houses and create a better bike storage situation or a better storage space or some other feature of the house that they'll use day to day, because they can already use the park across the street. And then Tina had mentioned that we are meeting the open space requirement. The open space requirement is 40%, and we're actually providing 76% of the lot as open space. So we're exceeding that requirement by quite a bit. And we're also working with the town's arborist, and we'll probably, we'll seek advice from we typically kind of crowdsource and seek advice from many experts who are willing to donate their time. But we plan to provide, at least a 40% tree canopy and a lot of beautiful covered outdoor space, just with our vegetation. And so so that's why the recreation requirement seems to be not necessary in this case. So do you, let's
And Sarah,
see.
can I add just a couple things? So the other thing, and I mean, it's already, some of this has already been addressed, but we wanted to contextualize also, there have been some concerns about stormwater that have already been raised. We wanted to kind of, again, raise the fact that all three of our units combined are 1,120 total square feet. And especially if you eliminate the requirement for parking, that's a very minimal impact. And we've been in discussions with the town engineer about that. And he says that should provide a very minimal impact on the stormwater. And it's got a very high quality drainage system in place. And in fact, the house that's next door is more square footage than all three of ours combined that's being proposed also in the stormwater, in the buffer, and that received a variance. So, and there have been three of the homes at the end of Broad Street on the gravel part actually got stream buffer variances as well several years ago, but that just didn't have to come before you all because it went before the Board of Adjustment and didn't have to come before the council. So the only reason we're here discussing this is because we're asking for 3 units, but the totality of the impervious surface and the square footage is actually smaller than you could build on this lot without rezoning it at all. And I think that's really important for us to point out, is that we really are trying to minimize that impact, but we're also trying to maximize the quality of these units, which is why we were willing to give on things like parking and rec space, but we've tried to include some of the things like accessibility to the units and character and quality of the architecture and design still in place. And so I just kind of wanted to show, and part of that is the balance of priorities. One of the commissions, I don't know if y'all saw this in the recommendation, but actually asked us, why don't you do 6 units there instead of 3? And then another commission, the Stormwater Commission, said, we don't want to recommend this because you're not improving the stormwater. And so the difference between 6 and 0 is 3. And so again, we are trying to really figure out how to balance those, knowing that there is an incredible urgent need for affordable housing. And this is a beautiful place to do it with the support of a wide support of neighbors. Sarah, should I move to the last slide? Do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
No, and I want to leave room for other people to make comments, and then I'm imagining there'll be some questions. So this is great.
Absolutely.
We should go move forward.
Yep.
And so these are just some statements of support that we wanted to read to you. I'll read the first one if I can. I tend to be a little bit emotional. I have 3 children. Sorry. So living in Pee Wee homes has been, nope, I'm not going to be able to do it. Hudson, you're going to have to read them. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Living in Pee Wee homes has been one of the best things that has ever happened to me. I have loved my home, this community, and the support of Pee Wee homes. I hope you will make it possible for 3 more Pee Wee homes to be built tonight. It can change 3 people's lives. And that's Mr. Marion, who lives actually just across the park, a block down on the other side. The next one is from Miss Weaver, who's a long-term neighbor on Broad Street. She said, why would you not want this housing here? I have lived here since 1962 and my husband for all 81 years of his life, and we welcome these homes on our block. And finally, from Ms. DeGraff and Reed Johnson from Lloyd Street, several of these folks couldn't be here tonight because of the challenges of Zoom and their nervousness around COVID, said, I have lived here all my life, all 66 years on Lloyd Street. I ask you to support Pee Wee Homes tonight. God knows people need a place to live, and that's a beautiful spot in a wonderful community to call home. So with that,
awesome. Thank you.
For questions.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. That was wonderful to see that. Okay, you all. So we've heard from Tina, we've heard from Hudson, we've heard from Sarah. We have roughly 14 people signed up to speak. Do we have clarifying questions we want to ask, or do we want to go ahead and start hearing from members of the public first? Jackie?
Thank you. I just have one. I love this project. It's beautiful. The homes give dignity, which I think is so very, very, very important. And that they are so accessible to anything anybody could want. I don't see the need for parking, frankly. My only question is, and I'm sorry that this came up late, I know that the town owns this, and I am going to vote for this. It's not that I'm not going to vote for it. The town owns property on both sides of the street. All right. And then looking at the area, I went walking through it, and I was just wondering, and maybe it's too late now. And this was, I'm the liaison to the Stormwater Advisory Board, and they hated having to say that from a stormwater perspective, they didn't think it was the best place to build the homes. And They were concerned about mold in the houses and people walking through soggy ground. And these people really know stormwater. I was just wondering if on the other side of the street, where the picnic shelter is now, and this is what the Stormwater Advisory Commission was talking about, where the picnic shelter is now, the land's flat and higher. If there could be a switch, if the town could switch with itself and put the Kiwi homes up where the picnic shelter is now, and the picnic shelter where the Kiwi homes are proposed for. So it's not no Kiwi homes, is there a better location on the group of property that we own there for the homes in terms of stormwater, and I would think in terms of buildability. That said, I support them, I love them, but I'm just wondering if we could move them across the street for the homes. Does that make any sense, or is it too far down the road?
Thanks, Jackie, for that. I think we'll hear conversation. Let me hear from other board members, their thoughts about that, and/or Trish, and then also we'll hear from the public about things.
Yeah.
I see Barbara. I see Susan.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from Sarah about it too, but yes, Barbara and Susan. Yeah.
Yeah, so I appreciate you bringing that forward, Councilmember Gist. I'm not clear why we would start swapping out park space for development. I'm concerned about the precedent that might set. And I feel like Mr. Henry Baldwin meant for that park to stay a park. And so, I mean, that's just my feeling about it. I'm more concerned about the precedent, that, okay, so we can use park space for other stuff too. Okay. So this is what I'm thinking about. And this is historic North Side, marginalized, underserved, gentrified. Let's not take anything else out of North Side. Let's add to North Side.
I was just flipping properties, not removing properties, just flipping.
Yeah, but I mean, you're doing it in a way where something is, it is being removed from what the original intent is.
Okay.
And the precedent that it would set is what I think about.
Okay.
Thanks, Barbara. Thanks, Jackie. Susan.
Yes, thank you, Jackie, for raising that idea, and I appreciate your comments, Barbara. And I'll just add to Barbara's comments that I can't even imagine how many months, Hudson, have already gone into the plans behind the location at 106 Hill Street. I can't even imagine how many hours have been devoted to working with the town engineer to make sure that all of the needed stormwater drainage systems are in place. And Sarah, how many weeks and months have gone into the design of the tiny homes. So it's just knowing how much you have already given of yourselves to this location and recognizing there is this gorgeous park across the street that you want to just leave as is. I too would very much support moving forward with this current plan. And I just do want to add one more thought on that. It is, I think about all of the, it's been almost, a month and a half, month and 3/4 of conversations with our comprehensive plan. And how many of those conversations on affordable housing have really talked about just what you have brought to us here tonight. This is the very model of the direction I think we're trying to go with affordable housing in Carrboro, where the town owns the land, where we are targeting residents with less than 30% AMI, where we are partnering with nonprofits, where we have all of this, think about the location, as you mentioned, to a health clinic and a transit and to grocery stores and to this gorgeous park with a community garden. It's everything we could possibly hope for in our comprehensive plan. So I am 110% behind this. Just super excited about it. All that I would add is that 3 things to consider And these are all very small because I'm so excited about this. You had mentioned the importance of community, that you tend to build these homes. By the way, I went and visited just yesterday, went down to see the Kiwi homes at Church of the Tabernacle, and I took a lunch break. And when I got there, sure enough, somebody was sitting on the porch of one of the Kiwi homes in conversation with somebody else who was standing outside of the home. It's just this gorgeous autumn day, and it couldn't have been a better testimonial to what this is all about. But it did remind me, since this is all about community, first of all, the thought of having a picnic table, where in this case it would be three residents, as many as 5, 6 residents that could be sharing meals at a picnic table that would feel a little bit more like a connection to family, if you will, as opposed to going to the park and using a picnic table there. I also did want to, I love this idea. I love the whole spirit of Kiwi. And so I also hope that we can consider at some point possibly a plaque that would go maybe in Baldwin Park, that Sarah and Hudson would sort of describe Kiwi, as well as how your organization got its beginnings and what a amazing gift this is to our community. So I hope that will be considered as well. Thank you again.
All right. Thanks, Susan. Look, we've got Sammy and Randy, but I also saw Sarah's hand up. Sarah, were you going to respond to something that either Jackie or Susan said? So let's go to Sarah, and then we'll go back to Sammy and Randy.
I did want to quickly respond to Jacqueline, and I appreciate the creative insights, the idea. I mentioned that I lived and worked in New Orleans for 8 years, and that entire city would not exist if someone had to, if it had to be a good idea from a stormwater management standpoint to build. So I just want, and I have built on this lot is not that bad. It's really not. And I think that people are, I think maybe it's such wonderful high ground in this town of Carrboro that there's a little bit, you get some localized flooding, like very small amounts of localized flooding in very large stormwater events, rain events, and it's taken care of within minutes by the existing system. And as Josh Dalton mentioned, the town engineer at the beginning of this presentation, we're setting the houses at the curb line. We're not elevating the houses on stilts. They're not going to be like little fishing cabins way up high. It's not, we don't have to take a lot, extreme measures. It's really not a huge problem from a stormwater management standpoint, in my opinion. So
for the clarification.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you for that. And Susan, you're done, right? Your hand's still up. Is that from earlier?
No, I'm done. I'm lowering my hand.
Okay, and Sarah's done. Okay, so let's go, and we'll go to our speakers then after you three speak, I think. So we've got Sammy, and then Randy, and then Damon.
Yes, thank you so much. This project is, as so many have described it, very exciting for so many reasons. Accessible for 30% below AMI is something that we've strived for so long in our town. And it's really inspiring, and hopefully the beginning of much more to have these homes in our community. I also appreciate the fact that it is located downtown, and it cuts out on the need for that extra cost, which is represented by transportation. And I do agree, we don't necessarily need that extra driveway for the home that shows it on the plan. So I'm all for not including that. It would cut down on some of the impervious surface. It is very unfortunate, and I'm glad that Jackie is representing the Stormwater Advisory Commission and their concerns. Some might look at this as an environmental concern or a NIMBYism way of wanting to prevent the home. But I think that the Stormwater Advisory Commission, like everyone else who's spoken about these homes, is for this project. What I do feel is that there is a concern about wanting to mitigate and be in line with climate justice represents. The saying is, those who have been marginalized and are the ones who will be feeling it first and most when it comes to climate change. Unfortunately, we don't know what it will bring, And that's where I feel like there's, I'm grateful for the Stormwater Utility Commission to really have thought through, but it brings to light another problem of our process where we think of these things after so much time and investment has been done by whoever's proposing it. And I'd like to propose, this isn't specific to the Pee-wee homes, but it's about our process, that we refer the homes that have been identified in our affordable housing plan to the Stormwater Advisory Committee now, so that we don't invite folks through an RFP or whatever process to go through those motions and then have very limited time to actually do justice and respond to concerns such as the Stormwater Commission has brought to fore. It was mentioned the comprehensive plan talks a lot about affordable housing. It also equally talks a lot about climate justice and climate change. So I think it behooves us to really be thinking about how is it that the properties that we're able to put affordable housing on are potentially so compromised in a time when we don't really know what is down the road. The engineer mentioned that the waters never overtopped the property. However, in his letter, he mentions anecdotes from neighbors that have mentioned the water has overtopped the street. So I mean, it's a big, it weighs on me heavily too, because I am very concerned about climate justice. To have a project here that brings so much to the community and yet has this cloud hanging over it, and as represented by climate justice. So for me, it really will boil down to, is it better to have no affordable housing versus affordable housing that might create climate refugees? I think for the short term, yes, maybe it is better the latter. But when issues start happening, if issues start happening at this house, I hope we remember this conversation and can think in a longer term way for those who we are supposed to be caring for.
Sammy, thank you for your comments. Before we go to Randy and Damon, I see that all four people with the project have raised their hands. I think Mr. Gartland might be.
Mr. Gartland is not with our project. He's part of the public. Just wanted to mention that.
Oh, okay. Well, Mr. Gartland, we'll do when we get to the public. I don't have you on my list. Okay, so then the other three, we have Hudson, Josh, and Erica. Josh, I don't know what order we want to go in. I think I saw
Josh can go first.
Pardon me?
Josh could go first because he may address what we're going to raise.
Okay, go ahead, Josh. Go ahead and you go first, and then when we're done with this topic, we'll go back to our council members.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that letter. When I wrote the letter about the overtopping, we went back and did some research, and the overtopping events were actually the ones that occurred just down the street on Broad Street that we've since replaced the pipe. So that statement in that letter does not refer to that point. So we've done some more research since that point. So I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification. Erica, do you or Hudson have anything else to add before we go back to Randy and then Damon?
I was just going to respond to Sammy that I appreciate that concern. The two things that I think are really important to point out. One is that the stormwater's language specifically said it's not improving the stormwater situation, but that was largely, as Josh has already shared, because the stormwater drainage system in place is a really impressive stormwater drainage system. And these tiny homes are not adding a lot of extra impact to that system. And it's an intermittent stream, and the houses will be raised 2 feet above the curb line. So even in a major storm event, these houses would not flood. So this is not like we're putting the homes in the middle of a floodplain and next thing we know, we're going to end up with climate refugees. This is a situation where we're putting people in quality housing right next to where the neighbors are building a 1,700 square foot home that's also in the same buffer because they're so excited about the beauty of this land. And so I don't think people would be building new market rate homes if it was really that poor of a space to build in.
All right. Thanks, Hudson. And then let's go to Erica.
Yeah, I really appreciate the comments too about climate justice, and I feel like if we're getting back to the people side of things, so moving away from the ordinances and I feel like what we're looking at here is justice for folks who would be living in shelters and on the streets versus living in safe, dry. You know, like it's in our interest to make sure that our homes are dry and well taken care of. So I so appreciate that, and nobody wants for these folks once they move in to move out or have to move out even temporarily for us to, you know, come in and dry things out. So that's very much on our hearts and in our minds, and it's embedded in how Sarah has designed these homes. And so yeah, hopefully we have been mitigating all the things that are around the potential for folks to not be in quality homes. And what it really comes down to for me is that these folks potentially could be folks who are sleeping in tents, you know, next to I-40 versus sleeping in dry homes. So I think, yeah, that's where the balance comes for me. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Erica. Appreciate those comments. All right, so we'll go back to Randy and then Damon, and then we'll go to the public. So Randy. Randy, are you able to?
Yeah, did you freeze, Lydia?
Maybe I did, but I
Okay.
said let's go to Randy and then to Damon.
Yeah. So. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank Hudson and his team and the Affordable Housing Commission, folks like Yvette and Betty Curry, who really helped champion this concept. Hudson, what is it, like 8-9 years that you've been putting into rethinking and reimagining community, and I can't thank you enough, because it's really it's showing now what all that work has done, not only in the individuals who couldn't be happier, who feel like their life is completely turned around because now they have stable, dignified housing, which is critical. And it's also housing. I really appreciate, I think Sarah said this about the concept of lifelong housing. You know, that this is something that is not thought of as a quick fix. It's thought of as being part of community and creating community. So I want to thank you for that. There's a couple of things that came out in all this wealth of information that I want to underscore. And one of them is that if there's a way with the open space that you have, Sarah, if there could be like a shared bike storage space that is between the three houses. I didn't know if that was possible, since you said there was 76% of open space. So maybe something that is shared, that would be great. The second point I wanted to make about is the trees that have to be replaced. One of the things that, and we failed with this on a couple of different ways, we plant, saplings, or we plant yearlings. We really need to plant mature trees, because they can't make it between the heavy rains or the very dry, the long dry spells. Young trees just can't do that. So I would encourage that. I also support the recommendations about eliminating the parking. I agree with Sarah. If your data shows that it's not necessary, it makes absolute sense. And finally, thank you, Barbara, for bringing up Henry Baldwin. I know he would have been so happy to see how the park has come along, and to see how the Broad Hill neighborhood is developed. I will say this, back, I don't know how many years ago now it is, that Randy Dodd and I and a team of neighborhood folks worked on the rain catchment and the gardens over at Baldwin. And so there's a history of neighborhood engagement in making that park part of the community. And I just wanted to underscore that for anyone who didn't realize that there's a long history of the neighbors actually working to make that park what it is. So again, to the team, thank you, and to Kiwi, thank you.
Thanks, Randy. Okay, so we'll go to Damon.
Thanks, Lydia. Sarah, Hudson, Erica, thanks for being here, for all the great information. I think several of us, I certainly, a few years ago when you were building the homes on Craig Street, several of us had the opportunity to walk through them before they were quite finished. And like so much of the work y'all are doing, that was really impressive. And it's nice to see those structures serving as homes over the last few years. And so congratulations. And congratulations on bringing this to us today and getting this far. It's an exciting project. I'm looking forward to us making it happen. I think, Hudson, I'll say this, having taken Erica's caution to sometimes put the ordinance aside and look at the people, but I'm going to come back to the ordinance just for 1 second, as I often do, and just lift up something that Hudson said, which is just a really important point. And that is, under the existing zoning of this property, if someone wanted to build a normal sized home, a 1,700-foot home, a 1,100-foot home, whatever, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. It wouldn't come before the town council. We would have nothing to do with it. This project has received the variances they requested from the Board of Adjustment. Project is not, it is in compliance as far as I can tell from the staff's presentation with all of our stormwater regulations. It addresses the concerns as far as I can tell from the engineer's report and the presentation we received today, addresses concerned about stormwater to my satisfaction. And so taking all of that, I just feel like, given that we're only here because of the request for greater density, something that we've talked a lot about wanting in these kinds of locations anyway, we wouldn't normally be having this conversation as a town council because it would just be approved by right, essentially. And so, I think the last thing that we want, especially in a project that is meeting so many of our goals as a community around affordable housing, around access to amenities and so on. The last thing we want is to be erecting unnecessary barriers. And I feel like, we have an opportunity here to not erect unnecessary barriers to a really great project. We have, and so I'm really interested in hearing from the public about their concerns about and interest in the project, but this really seems like a pretty clear decision to me.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Damon. Okay, so council members, I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead, Mary, I want to give you 2 names at a time to just pull over so that way we can kind of stay on track. And why don't you bring over Betty Curie and George Barrett. And then as they come over, I'll remind them they have up to 3 minutes to speak. So let's bring those 2 over. I was trying to go through my list and double checking about who was actually here and then who was on the list. So, all right, so we'll go first. We'll go first with Betty, and then we'll go George after Betty, and you have up to 3 minutes to talk to us. It's good to see you tonight.
Good to see y'all too. Hi, everybody. All right. Well, I wanted to start out by referring to Shelley versus Kramer, which is a law that said that restricted covenant in real property deeds, which prohibits the sale of property to non-Caucasians unconstitutionally, violates the equal protection provision of the 14th Amendment. According to Yamata Taylor in Race for Profit, unfair housing, the Federal Housing Agency began to expand home ownership to lower income families, but later made claims to exclude African Americans for economic reasons. Some officials in the agency made claim that African Americans were too poor to be homeowners. I would agree to Taylor that she expressed the low income groups are just as much entitled to relatively acceptable standards of living as are higher income groups and their purchases of low cost homes, and not be confined to slum areas and unprotected or isolated areas. Under her title, A Risky Business, the Housing and Urban Development Act made new provisions to encourage low-income home ownership after years of debating of the creation, placement, and management of public housing programs. Meanwhile, segregating African Americans into declined neighborhoods, then depriving the communities of resources, investments, better jobs, while pushing substandard houses are extremely alarming to me. African Americans were deemed unsuitable homeowners, responsible for devaluing of property. Therefore, one is restricted to certain areas that doesn't affect the white community. And finally, the U.S. policies and political history in the end of 1960 Taylor drew the attention to how sanctuary changes rarely undo the deeply ingrained cultural, socioeconomical, and political assumptions that has created this society. So race is a primary fact in housing development in this country. White Americans want to remain segregated by any means necessary, which has always put low-income families at a disadvantage. Therefore, I stand by the development of Pee Wee homes as the beginning of the affordability for those who make 30% AMI. How's us now?
Thank you. Thank you, Betty. Appreciate those comments. Thank you very much. All right, we'll head over now to George with his comments. Good evening, George.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is George Barrett, and I'm the Executive Director of the Mary and Chief Jackson Center. So over the past 5 years, the Jackson Center, along with a host of partners, including the town of Carrboro, have been involved in the Northside Neighborhood Initiative, which Hudson Vaughn mentioned previously and alluded to. Throughout these 5 years, we've been able to create over 40 units of affordable housing, almost a quarter of those being in Carrboro. We've been able to retain over 70 households through critical home repairs and through property taxes. And I think you already all know about the recent property tax valuation and the work that we've all done to ensure that we retain our long-term residents in this community. And we've been able to preserve the neighborhood fabrics and the culture of this historically Black, family-centric neighborhood through festivals, creative placemaking, and relational oral history. One of the joys that I have seen and witnessed over these many years is the residents of the Pee Wee homes on Craig Street. In this Pee Wee home duplex on Craig Street, the residents there have become major parts of the Northside community. They have been able to transition out of homelessness into housing at 30% AMI or below. They have become integral parts of the neighborhood. You know, we're all used to now seeing Mr. Marion walking through the neighborhood, seeing Miss Elaine waving to her on her porch. And it's become, we can't think about the neighborhood in Northside without thinking about the residents of Pee Wee homes as an integral part of this community. And they've also been able to participate in different neighborhood programs, building intergenerational relationships between students and themselves and even the wider community. And this has been really integral, and it's been a joy and a privilege to witness the beauty of seeing this justice at work and seeing these members of the Pee Wee homes, these residents of Pee Wee homes, living in a diverse, proud, and connected community that is Northside. Allowing this rezoning will ensure that more members of our larger Carrboro community and Chapel Hill community who are most vulnerable and most deserving of housing, those at 30% AMI, are not only have a safe and affordable place to live, but live in an abundant community. A community of civil rights leaders, of teachers, of activists, of families, of change makers, and amazing people within Carrboro, historic members of the Carrboro, and individuals who are continuing to make history today. Our Community Compass group, which is the group of neighbors who directs the housing work and directs the Northside Neighborhood Initiative, is in support of this project. As you've already heard, neighbors of Lloyd and Broad Street are in support of this project. And the extended community, hundreds of people already who have recorded and said that they are in support of this project. The members who are fiercely creating and advocating for affordable housing within our community are in support of this Pee Wee Homes project. So I will close with saying a vote for rezoning tonight not only ensures that much needed affordable housing is created in our Carrboro community, but also on the bigger context sustains the historic Northside community for the next generation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate those comments, George. Okay, Mary, let's bring over Alyssa and Brandon. So we'll hear from Alyssa first. And I think, there we go. And I think, is Connor with you too? So, okay. So why don't you all, so you have 3 minutes to tell us your remarks. It's great to see you this evening.
Thank you. It's almost 2:00 in the morning where we are. I'm actually working in Europe, so we're going to make this really short.
Okay.
We are fully in support of this project, and we believe the city, should go forward with all of this. And we are honored to have Kiwi Homes neighbors as our neighbors. But we have brought up not so much flooding issues, but ponding issues. And I think they're getting contorted into flooding issues. There are current issues for ponding on both 106 and 104 and 102. And these are current issues, and these come with regular storms, not massive storms. So removing the oldest growth trees on the property in order to build these is needed and necessary. But we would like to see conditions put on the zoning so that they don't cause further ponding issues to the area. That's really our only concern.
And it's a technical concern.
It's just a technical thing.
Because if you look at the properties, the two southern homes are actually, the land actually goes down about 10 feet. So
from the street.
So when you lift up the properties, you're basically bringing in a significant amount of fill to regrade the properties so that they can be built up properly. That's going to lead to additional sort of sheet draining into the 104 and 102 properties. And as long as there's consideration and analysis on how to actually get the water to properly drain so that it goes towards that inlet culvert, it probably will be fine. But nothing that we've seen to date has actually sort of shown that analysis of how to actually get the sheet draining to go towards the culvert and not to just sheet into the property and then stay and stick.
Okay.
There's the added trees will help and ultimately, I think, deal with some of the ponding. But I know Josh is probably looking at parts of this, and this may be more of an issue of permitting, but that's ultimately our concern. We also are, the parking on the street. There's ample parking on the street. We don't see the benefit of adding parking. Personally, we also think the Broad Street overlay of requiring 2 parking spots per property is probably antiquated, considering the area and the smallness of the lots in that area. It seems to encourage something that should be discouraged, which is multiple car owning. But we're very much in support. We are excited to see it go forward. We just want to figure out that one technical issue.
Great, thank you. And just so you know, in case you want to go to bed, we're going to hear from all the members of the public, and then afterward we'll have a conversation about any of the comments we've heard and direction to staff or questions. So thank you very much for staying up and being with us. So
thank you.
All right, very good. So all right, we'll head on now, folks, to Brandon, Mr. Mirande. Is that but welcome. You have 3 minutes to speak to us.
Okay. Hello, yeah, my name's Brandon Mirandi, and I'm speaking in approval of rezoning 106 Hill Street for the Kiwi Homes development. I serve on the Chapel Hill Housing Advisory Board, as well as work with the Orange County Street Outreach Program, assisting people experiencing unsheltered homelessness with accessing affordable housing. And my family has also experienced homelessness and housing insecurity directly. And through my personal and professional experience, I can definitely affirm that Carrboro has extremely limited housing options for those earning less than 30% AMI. All subsidized housing locations have long wait lists, and very few places accept housing choice vouchers. As such, our community members with limited incomes, including seniors receiving retirement and folks earning Social Security benefits, have virtually no options to live in Carrboro. Moreover, rental, credit, and even criminal history barriers resulting from extensive periods of homelessness make it very difficult for our unsheltered residents to obtain housing, especially for individuals of color. So Pee Wee Homes offers an immediate, albeit small, solution to expand truly affordable housing for community members. And I definitely hear the concerns regarding flooding, and hopefully the town can find solutions to these, as well as open up future land in more suitable locations for affordable housing. However, I believe environmental justice also entails building affordable housing and not using otherwise solvable concerns to exclude low-income residents from our communities. So again, I am speaking in approval of this project, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. All right, let's Mary, let's bring over Alice Jacoby and Sherry Roseman. All right, we'll start out first then with Alice. Good evening. It's nice to see you. And you have 3 minutes to talk with us. So begin whenever you like.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Council. It's great to be with you. My name is Alice Jacoby. I'm here tonight representing Orange County Habitat for Humanity, as well as the Orange County Affordable Housing Coalition. And I'm here just to voice our enthusiastic support for Pee Wee Homes and for this project. As Hudson mentioned, who has vanished from my screen now, Habitat worked closely with Pee Wee Homes on building several of the small homes in our community, and we can speak firsthand to the vision and the integrity of this organization, as well as to the incredible housing product they provide for our community. I had the privilege of touring, I think, all 5 of the units, the Craig Street duplex, as well as the units on the Church of the Advocate property after they were finished, and they're really stunning. So shout out to Sarah, I guess. But it's incredible what you all do with that space. I mean, they're homes that anyone in our community would be happy to come home to at the end of the day. As folks who are on council know, Habitat is currently building on Cobb Street near the proposed site. We're thrilled to be welcomed into this community to build. And of course, we're grateful to the council for your support of this project. We also recognize that there are many folks in our community who can and will bring amazing things to Carrboro that cannot afford to purchase a Habitat home, much less a market rate home in our community, and that there's a staggering need for housing opportunities for those who are under 30% AMI. You all, I don't have to explain to this group the scale of the housing need in our community, but we know that each new unit matters, and to have this opportunity to build, not 1, but 3 new units, especially on town-owned land, is just incredible, and an opportunity that we feel strongly can't be passed by. I'm really happy to hear such supportive comments from council members already, and would just urge you all to really treat this issue with the urgency that it requires. We know what the need is. We know the solutions are needed now. We know they were needed yesterday. And, while I'm certainly not a stormwater expert, I do feel confident that, this community and that the folks involved can summon the will and the technical expertise and the creativity needed to mitigate any of the concerns at hand in order to move this project forward as soon as possible. Finally, I just want to say that I am here representing Habitat. I'm here as someone that works in housing. I'm here representing the Housing Coalition. I'm also here as someone that spent the last 11 years of my life living in Carrboro. This is the community that I love. And I actually moved away from Carrboro this past year. And, frankly, the reason that I moved was it became increasingly clear to me that home ownership or even renting a single family home was not going to be an affordable option for me, even though I'm someone that has a good job, has a good paying job, doing work directly serving this community. And so I do understand the full scope of need of the affordability crisis. And I also really understand the values that Carrboroites hold dear and, claim proudly. And I just think it's really important that we keep in mind and ensure that these values are not abstractions. I mean, these values only count if we're actually living them and putting them into action. And especially when there are challenges, especially when it's in our own backyard. And I just, Carrboro cannot claim to be inclusive and diverse if at the end of the day, folks really can't afford to be here unless they fit within an increasingly shrinking subset of wealth and race and class. And so, again, we think this is a very exciting opportunity to put those values into action, and hope we can count on your support for the rezoning tonight. Thanks for your time.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for being here. We appreciate your comments. Move on to Sherry Roseman. Good evening, Sherry. You have up to 3 minutes to talk to us.
Sure. Thank you. And good evening. Thanks for this chance to speak to you tonight. I'm coming from UNC as the director of the Partnerships in Aging, but also really involved with the Affordable Housing Coalition and as the lead for the master aging planning process in housing in Orange County. So while my field is aging, I can increasingly see that housing in homes is a great interest and a great need in our community, as you know. I think this project puts us one step closer to this community's housing goals, taking something as old and fundamental as housing and trying something new. And to me, the something new is our commitment to supporting our tenants to age in community. And so we're not only about building houses, we really aspire to learn from and imagine a community that engages people from diverse walks of life, supports the aging journey, and the chance that it gives us to partner with organizations in the community who can lend a hand. And I just wanted to share some of the things that have already happened. We have had a UNC occupational therapy class dedicate a semester to identifying resources and services in the community to enable our tenants to stay in their homes instead of facing a move to a nursing home. The Orange County Department on Aging has been involved with us, providing consultations that promote safety for our residents inside and outside of their homes. We've had a certified aging in place specialist help us tweak the design, Sarah's incredible designs, tweak them a bit for more accessibility and livability. We've had community members to donate furniture, and one of my students visits one of our tenants several times a week, and she says she's learned as much from him as she has in her business classes. So surely we'll have some obstacles to overcome to make these things happen well, but please approve the rezoning so that we can move ahead and that we can address the challenges together, creating something important and really wonderful. Thank you so much for your time.
Great, thank you. Thanks for your comments. All right, Mary, let's pull over Leo Gev, and Jay Miller. All right, Leo, can you hear us?
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, and I should say Leo and Heather, I know. So, but anyway, you guys, great to see you tonight. Speak to us for 3 minutes if you like.
Okay, I'll go first. I'll be talking for a minute and a half. Yeah, I'm resident of Broad Street. I've lived here for almost 12 years. A business owner and very much in support of this project. Really happy to see a somewhat unused corner lot that otherwise would probably go unused indefinitely if it wasn't for the efforts of the group that's spearheading this. And I'd like to kind of pick up on what's happening on the other end of Broad Street, which is the Habitat House, which Heather has been involved in and instrumental in designing. And to just note the new life that's been brought to a corner that has long since, as long as I've lived here, gone unused. So there's a lot of new energy with the Habitat Project and 4 new affordable homes going onto that corner at Cobb and Broad. So it would be a really nice bookend, literally, to have another admirable project going down there at Hill. In terms of parking, I just want to support what everyone said about there really being ample street parking. And, you know, we have 2 cars. We have a single car parking lot on our street, on our house, and we use the street and we use our parking, single parking space, and it works out just fine. And I also mostly just want to commend just the talented, experienced, and organized group of people from Kiwi Homes who are spearheading this project.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Leo. And Heather, you can have 3 minutes too if you want, but go ahead.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to say, we have two kids, 2 sons who live with us on Broad Street. One is 8, who goes to Northside Elementary, and one just turned 1. And I just think that this project is, it's a beautiful opportunity to show our kids that not only do we take care of the vulnerable people in our community, but we show them respect and dignity. And I think the design and the efforts by Kiwi Homes do just that. And I'm really excited about the potential to have this project right on our street. So thank you.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you. Appreciate your comments and y'all being here tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll move on then to Jay Miller. Hey, Jay, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you all. Hey, I've heard the entire presentation tonight, and of course, some of this beforehand, and I'm just don't want to be redundant too much. I want to thank the town of Carrboro and the council for taking this project seriously, for addressing these issues. I'm involved in several affordable housing projects. One's a 15-unit tiny home village that's under construction in Chatham County. I love seeing this type of work, and some of the biggest obstacles towards this happening nationwide are strict zoning laws and land ownership laws. And the fact that our town of Carrboro is willing to work through these issues, including all the logistical type issues, is really encouraging and just really exciting. I'm trying to think of what hasn't been said. I think one thing, overall, I believe, I'm citing a big study that there is some cost savings to municipalities for housing homelessness people in this way. I could go into some details about that. I want to say it's been mentioned, the dignity. I believe Jackie and Randy both mentioned that, and we all are aware of the dignity. And I just want to say just that the benefits to the tenants, I think, I haven't heard so much about that. I think we know a lot of that, but I just want to say that I'm aware from some of the projects that I'm involved in, it's mental health benefits and physical health benefits. Mental health benefits around dignity, stability provides mental health benefits, privacy. There's physical benefits for storage and safety. And so this type of housing is really innovative, and I believe it really serves a great need in our community. We need a lot more affordable housing. I'm almost across the street from the Kiwi Homes at the Church of the Advocate, and I'm just excited to see another great project like this coming together. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate your comments. All right, let's Mary, let's bring over Lisa Fishbeck. All right, Reverend Fishbeck, it's good to see you here this evening. Where'd you go?
I'm here.
There you are. You moved over. Sorry. Good evening. It's good to have you. You have 3 minutes to chat with us.
Oh, I'm going to be very brief. I just want to say amen, amen, amen. And I, as the vicar, the priest at the Episcopal Church of the Advocate, I want to underscore how enriched our life has become by having the 3 Kiwi Homes on our site and the 3 residents living there, the 3 tenants living there. They definitely enrich our lives, and hopefully we are good neighbors to them. As the chair of the board of the Kiwi Homes, my heart is so warmed, and I am so inspired by the care and the thoughtfulness that you all are exhibiting here, and by your passion and your enthusiasm for those who are needing housing and for creative ways to solve that need. And thank you for being awake and alert and participating in this process. I'm really grateful. So I hope it passes. That's all I can say. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
It's a joy.
Okay. All right. So folks, that's everyone I have signed up to speak, but I see a few in the waiting room who I thought might also want to speak. So let's bring over Bill Gartland and Yvette Matthews. I'm sorry, Yvette Matthews. I'm sorry, you were on the list too, Ms. Matthews, but we'll bring over Bill Gartland and Yvette Matthews.
Hello, I don't know. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Mr. Gartland, we can hear you. Go ahead, and we can't see you, but we can hear you just fine. So
yeah, I'm puzzled by that because my camera's on, so I apologize. But first of all, I'd like to say that I'm fully supportive of affordable housing, and my wife and I have contributed both financially and have personally worked on construction of numerous Habitat for Humanity homes. We welcome the affordable housing to the neighborhood, including the new Habitat homes being built up the block. And we think that, Kiwi Homes has done a marvelous job with their design and everything. We do have some deep concerns. One is the stormwater that we've talked about. And I learned something more tonight because I didn't realize that another 1,700 square foot homes proposed to be built, within this, stream buffers and area. And we're concerned that between, these three homes and another 1,700 square foot home, just adding more impervious area and grading and the things that go along with that are just going to cause more problems there. And with the severe impacts of climate change, the frequency and the intensity of storms that are causing flooding are getting worse and worse year by year. And I do respect, Josh and the stormwater folks and, their expertise, but FEMA produces these 100-year storm maps, and a lot of them have become obsolete, and they're only updated about once every 5 years and have proven to be woefully inadequate. So I have to wonder if it's really good public policy to build and to put people, kind of in harm's way. And I know the applicant proposes to design and have, stormwaters or floodwaters go underneath the foundations and no mechanicals there. But it just seems to me like it's just, deeply problematic and is only going to get worse. Secondarily, regarding the parking, which is a distant thing, the adjacent triplex at 309 Broad Street, it's a triplex with no off-street parking. Baldwin Park has no off-street parking. Today, this afternoon, there were one spot, maybe two, but I think one available all the way from the corner of Hill Street all the way including the triplex. And so I was a little bit baffled by neighbors thinking that there's not, that there's adequate parking because there doesn't really appear to be. So I think adding 3 and including that other house on Hill Street, 4 more houses and no off-street parking is problematic. And while the residents might not have vehicles that live there, surely they'll have friends, family, the property managers, service providers, they need a place to park. And I know everybody hates parking spaces, and it adds to more impervious area, which is kind of one of the ironies of that. But in closing, I'm a big supporter of affordable housing. I'm one of 7 children. Our family of 9 lived in very substandard government housing, and we were thrilled to get our first house, even though it was a modest 900 square feet. 3-bedroom, 1 bath, 9 people sharing 1 bath. I shared a 10 by 10 bedroom with my 3 brothers, but we were thrilled to have a place to call our own. And I totally agree with everybody's comments tonight of the dignity of, having, a roof over your head, having a home. And so at any rate, we're first I learned of Kiwi Homes, and I think they're doing incredible work. I just, would like these issues that we talked about that I just discussed just to be addressed. And so I appreciate the opportunity to share that with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gartland. Appreciate your comments.
And I apologize about, I don't know what the story is with the camera. I guess I'm kind of a neophyte at this, despite.
It's all good. We can hear you just fine. Thank you.
Thank you kindly.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And now Ms. Matthews, hi. And now I see why on my list I have several people and I didn't see them, but I bet they're behind you. So you all take it away, and I'm not sure how long you need to talk, but you go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. What's up, everybody? What's up, Hud? What's up, Bob? Hey, we've done a lot of talking tonight, and so I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to sing how I feel about Pee Wee Homes, okay? So, joy to the world, election is coming. We have our chance to vote. Affordable housing is what we need, and you can't stop us now. And you can't stop us now. And you can stop us now. Joy to the world, we're tired of this mess. And we can't get no rest. While streets and shelters are currently our home, why won't you house us now? Why won't you house us now? Why won't you house us now? Why won't you help? We can't do it by ourselves. We're tired of waiting on you. We've been doing it for too long, but we're still standing strong, and we won't give up now, and we won't give up now, and we won't give up now. Stop talking about it. Let's be about it. You don't think that it affects you, but it's clear that we need it. I know you can see it. Why don't you house us now? Why don't you house us now? Why don't you house us now? 30% AMI, house us now.
That was awesome.
I have several people in the community here that want to speak. Can I just go on that and pass the hat on to people?
Please do. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Ms. Matthews, just have them say their name first and then have them talk, so we have it for the record. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I know a couple of you, and when I say my name and what I did, some of you might know me. I'm a retired Chapel Hill public safety officer, 20 years. I served the community of Chapel Hill and Carrboro, worked with those officers side by side. In particular, I voluntarily set up a unit to specially serve the African American population and other people of colors because there was so much racial inequality or disparity, racial injustice, and I still see it today more so than ever. I served this community and now I'm homeless. And after seeing what's happening with these Pee Wee homes and things like this, I have decided that what will be the rest of my life is to serve the homeless community, people of color, people who are economically deprived until I die. I am more fortunate than others as I have a car to live in. I do know people that are homeless and live in a tent in I-40. My health has deteriorated. Physically, I'm mentally depressed. I can barely eat. I'm so tired. I would like to say that we as homeless, I know some of you don't view it this way, but many citizens views us as an invisible population, that we don't contribute, but many of us have educations. And if we could get housing, I would like to return and be a contributing citizen to the Carrboro community and Chapel Hill. I would serve it voluntarily without pay. I live on Social Security. I do not have a police pension. It's a long story. And I'd like to have my health back. I don't want to freeze to death this winter, and that's what I'm afraid is going to happen. I really am. I've lost a significant amount of weight. My health really has deteriorated. I've several genetic diseases and been diagnosed now with a deteriorating spine disease. And so I'm limited physically in some of the things that I can do, but I can still speak and support the community and contribute. And I still have that caretaker police mentality, the kind that cares about people. I cared, and it made me a good police officer. And it was at the right time, and we were well trained, and we didn't mistreat people. We respect people. And my friends of color that I served in Pine Knolls, North Side, public housing are still my friends, and I consider them to be my brothers and sisters. Even though I may be Caucasian, they are my blood. And I vote. I might not have a home, and I don't have that much money, but I vote. And I will enlist those who don't vote to do this. So I ask you, I think many of you are for this, but I ask you to help this community so that these people that appear to be invisible do not have to continue to face racial injustice and disparity and economic disparity and suffer poor health. I really want to contribute. If you'll just help us all get homes, I'll pay money, what I have, just to have a roof over my head. And I know many others would, even those unlimited incomes would do what they could. And I think they do. I heard a couple of comments about how wonderful some of the neighbors have really become integrated and are welcome. So thank you very much. Please, please, please remember, we are all human, no matter what we look like on the outside.
Thank you. We appreciate hearing from you. No. Okay, hello.
Hello, how are you? My name is Ronald Carnes. I am a resident of Carrboro, proud resident of Carrboro. I love the town. And I'm also a registered voter. I want to thank you, Mayor, the council. I'm totally impressed with Damon Siles' comments. And Barbara, love you. The people that live in these Kiwi homes, I know them. I've done caroling, Christmas caroling over on Craig Street with Hudson and George. I see the pride in their faces when they come to the door of their own homes to welcome those who would pay attention to them living there. I know the people that live in the Kiwi homes at the Church of the Advocate. This project, everything that you wanted to do to make it happen has happened. As Mr. Siles said, if this were a 1,700-foot property, it wouldn't even be an issue with the council. We need to build these homes. We need to build more of them. It is an effort that is going on. You can't guess what's going to happen with climate change. It's something we should have been doing 30, 40 years ago as far as climate change. But now that we have the opportunity to build these Kiwi homes, we should get it done. And thank you again, Mayor, council members, Hudson, love you, George, Sarah, Erica, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Carnes. Appreciate it.
How's us now?
Who's going to speak now?
Okay. Okay. So I guess, hi, y'all. I'm Christine Abernathy. I am the Director of Housing Justice at the Marion Cheek Jackson Center, and formerly affiliated with Habitat. And also I've lived in Carrboro for a little over 8 years. I think that y'all have received the communication that I sent that was a letter. And so I'm just going to take time to read that letter for y'all and for the folks that are here in this space. Dear Mayor Lavelle and Carrboro Town Council members, within Orange County, there is a gap, as we discussed, of nearly 5,000 homes needed for our community members living at or below 30% area median income, which is approximately $18,000 a year. Unfortunately, this reality is only growing worse for so many of our neighbors and friends, with homelessness increasing 39% between 2017 to 2020. As residents of Northside, potential residents of Northside, and allies within the greater Orange County community, we envision a neighborhood that is vital, family-friendly, socially cohesive, multi-generational, mixed income, and diverse. We envision a community that celebrates its strengths and opportunities while honoring the cultural and historic legacy of the neighborhood. Today, we have the opportunity to make powerful change and provide stable, safe homes for members of our community. We urge members of Carrboro Town Council to vote to approve the rezoning of 106 Hill Street. The rezoning will allow Kiwi Homes to build 3 flood-resistant units with minimal impervious surfaces totaling 300 to 400 square feet per home. These units fill a critical need for our neighbors who are transitioning out of homelessness and into a stable phase of life. With 3 new homes on Hill Street, our future neighbors can transition to long-term, permanent, safe housing and have homes of their own. Creating housing within the context of community is life-affirming. A community where they are not isolated, but in community with neighbors, next door to a local park, near jobs, with access to transit, and so much that they need to thrive. This upcoming vote is life-changing. We can move someone from surviving to thriving. We have the opportunity to allow for someone to put money aside so that they can manifest their wildest dreams. This project also helps our community meet the affordable housing goals of housing all citizens, housing diverse populations, housing folks who are in most need in a variety of housing styles and prices, and by using available town-owned land. A vote in favor of this proposal is a clear commitment to address the demands raised in the House Us Now March that demonstrated the immense community support for affordable housing for those in most need who are living below or at 30% AMI. Don't isolate us, house us now.
Woo. Thank you. Appreciate it, Christine. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. This letter has had over 150 signatures. And so I encourage y'all to go back and read the comments that I shared through that spreadsheet. That includes folks who are residents of the Lloyd Broad neighborhood. That includes folks in the housing justice world. And that also includes folks of lived experience.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate it. Okay. Yvette, are you, Miss Matthews, you still there?
Hey.
Okay. Hello. Okay.
Okay. So I think that's pretty much what we all had to say. We wanted to make sure that you guys make this bring it to fruition, which really needed. Y'all already know that it's needed. You have the graphs and the charts and all those numbers and all that stuff that you need, and you can see the need. And it's been a need for a very long time. So we are in support of you building the Pee-wee homes, of going on and voting and going and say yes, because y'all need to get this done. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate your comments. And you're singing, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so I think that explains why some of the list I had. Okay, so I have another person signed up, or a person raised their hand to speak. It looks like Katina. So let's bring over Katina, Mary. Katina, can you, oh, there you are. Okay, hi. You have 3 minutes to speak to us. Good to see you.
Okay, so I am an avid member of CEF, and I became a member and actually an orientator with CEF back in 2018. So I wanted to speak to you guys about a personal experience I've had. There is a lady that lives in Chapel Hill in the Pee-wee homes named Miss Elaine. I cannot remember her last name. We were actually roommates together at the women's shelter. And my experience there with her was it was just a hard time. I don't want to tell any of her personal business. I just want to say that at the end of the day, she got approved for a Pee Wee home. And it was a world of difference in her life. We're both now in our prospective places. I have a place, she has a place. But it does something for the human spirit to have a decent place to lay your head, and you're not depressed, and you're not wondering where your next meal is coming from, and you're not wondering where you're gonna sleep, and you're not wondering what friend is gonna turn you down for the night to stay somewhere. There's just been a world of difference in her life, and she actually got approved for her place before I did mine. And so I just wanted to bring that personal experience. She's like a total different person because that heaviness is not there in her life anymore. To where she had to deal with being in a homeless shelter or staying with unkind people or having to live outside.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to speak to you guys about the difference between surviving and thriving. We often are used to do the scratch off for the lottery. She's a queen. She loves scratching off for the lottery. It seems like she always had such good luck. And we had these dreams of hitting it big one day and building whole communities for the homeless, for the people that can not pay all of this $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 rent, for people that couldn't afford those types of homes. Those were the type of things that got us through those nights at the shelter. And so I would, and not just employ you guys to do this project, but any other ones that may come through. And if you guys have the space and the land and the willpower to make it happen, it is changing people's lives. And that's all I wanted to say.
No, thank you for those comments. Wonderful. Thank you. We appreciate you being here. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. So let's see, y'all. I think I've heard from everyone in the waiting room who was signed up to speak. And so I think we're good now. Let me just double check here. Okay. So council members, let's see how we can address a couple of the questions we have that are outstanding about this, and then see how we can move forward with it. I know there were a couple questions Tina had for us that we need to kind of talk through. Let's start with Damon and then Jackie.
I thought I saw Jackie's hand first, but
I did, but then it went down. Then it went away, and then it went.
Because I thought we were going to talk about something else, but that's okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Damon.
That's the only reason I did that, because I saw you put your hand down. So.
Just wanted to say very quickly that it seems like there are kind of three questions. One is the parking, one is the recreation points, and the other is what remains to be discussed with the town engineer during the zoning permitting process about stormwater concerns, to the extent that they may still exist at that stage. And I just wanted to express to council that I support putting a 0 in the required parking box. I support, in this project and some others, I support accepting a payment in lieu that the town would provide on part of the applicant. And then so on those two questions, I think we should just move forward personally. And then finally, there's a mention in the staff memo that when the applicant, assuming they get their approval tonight, which I hope they will, moves to the zoning permit stage, they will continue to consult with the town engineer about how the final plans address, whatever remaining stormwater concerns there may be. So I just would ask if the staff has some more comment about that, like what does that look like? But apart from those comments, I very much hope that we will approve this project tonight. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Damon. And Jackie, I'm sorry, before I go to you, I just wanted to say this. I'm in agreement with the two things that Damon said also. I mean, I'm in agreement with the no parking. I'm in agreement with the payment in lieu. So as if we're able to, after Jackie talks, maybe I'll take a little show of hands from everyone else. If someone feels differently than that, we can kind of move to you with a discussion about that. But let's go ahead and go to Jackie with her comments. So
I'm ready to move on it as well. I'm sitting here almost crying because I'm always bragging to people about Carrboro who've never been here before. And I think anybody who could listen to this public hearing, and you look at other communities where similar projects are being proposed, and you would have all kinds of NIMBYism going on. And instead we had how many people come up and say, this is wonderful, do it, do more of it. So I'm just so, once again, in love with our town. And I know we have some other properties that we're thinking about. And I hope we can begin moving forward with those soon. But we're so lucky and we need to share it.
yeah, thank you, Jackie. Good comments. And I know, I think as I think back on it, I think almost everyone spoke even before we heard from the public. And so I think we have general consensus from everyone around this. I'd be willing to entertain a motion for the resolution of consistency in the draft ordinance, and also making these two statements to Tina about direction on those two items that were outstanding. Let's go to Barbara and then Jackie.
Lydia, my hand's raised.
I'm ready to move it.
All right,
and I was going to second it. Yeah.
Okay, all right. We'll have Barbara do the motion and Jackie do the second, but first let me go to Sammy because he might have some comments or questions. Go ahead, Sammy.
Right.
I'm sorry, your yellow is in your painting and I didn't see it.
Yeah, no worries. I'm total agreement. I think this project is perfect. My only concern was a climate justice one where a property that's compromised and has questions surrounding it with the unknowns of climate change, that may again impact those who are first and most affected by climate. But this definitely fits and we need more of it. So I will second or move, or it's already been moved.
It's already been moved and seconded.
I will support the approval.
Thank you, Sammy. All right, Barbara, so your motion, as we need to make clear that the motion of consistency, the resolution of consistency and or the draft ordinance, we need, Tina, which one of those needs to be clear in terms of the parking and the
recreation
and the payment in lieu, or is it just enough to say that and then you can wordsmith it when it comes out?
Sure. If you would, the attachment A is the resolution of consistency, where you oftentimes will go ahead and fill in the different sections. So section 1 is consistent, and then with section 2 is in the public interest, and therefore section 3 recommend approval. The matter related to the parking is under attachment B as part of the rezoning ordinance. And you would want to identify that you want to include optional 1A.
Okay, and do we, remind me of this, we vote on one and then the other, or we can vote on both at once with this?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I lost my page. I'm way off of the pages. Sorry. Do we need to vote on them one at a time, or can we vote on them together?
I think typically, I think you can do either. I think oftentimes you'll do two separate motions, one to approve the resolution of consistency, and then the second to approve the ordinance.
Okay, so Barbara, first then the motion, and I'm in the middle. Don't want the page in front of me. I think it's the resolution of consistency. And so go ahead. Is that the motion that you're making, Barbara?
Yeah, so I move that we move and go ahead with the resolution of consistency, which is attachment A.
And that is seconded by Jackie. So all in favor say aye. Randy?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Me? Aye. Barbara?
Aye.
Jackie?
Aye.
Damon?
Aye.
And then Sammy?
Aye.
Okay, and then the second one is the draft ordinance for rezoning, the attachment B. Barbara, you want to make the motion for that one too?
Yeah.
And
So,
if I may, just to be clear, to repeat what Councilmember Siles said just a little bit earlier, under optional 1A, the council finds 0 parking spaces is sufficient, just to be clear with the record. Thank you.
Yeah, it's option 1A on attachment B, 1 of 2. So it's option 1A is the motion. That's the one you're making, Barbara?
yeah,
I'll
that's
second that.
yes. 0 for 0 parking spaces. Yes.
Okay, Damon?
So Jackie seconded that, but I have a question before we vote.
She did.
So in addition to the 0 parking spaces, Tina, is this also where we need to specify that
the in lieu,
the town will make the payment in lieu on behalf of the applicant for the recreational amenities?
Sure. Since we weren't sure if you would be ready to make a decision on this point this evening, this decision technically doesn't need to be made until that payment would be required, which would be at the time the CO is ready to move forward. Which means you have some kind of options as to moving forward with that now, or waiting a little bit longer, and we could bring that back as a separate item, if that would be your preference.
It would just be, you could bring back with that wording as a separate item, maybe even on a consent or something, because we just don't have it wordsmithed right now. Okay. So this second motion and second then is for this second attachment here with option 1A, which has 0 parking spaces. So, all right. So all in favor of that motion, say aye. Randy?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Jackie?
Aye.
Me? Aye. Damon?
Aye.
Sammy?
Aye.
And Susan?
Aye.
All right. There we go. It's been done. Woo, woo. Thanks, y'all. Thank you, everyone associated with this project for bringing it forward. Thank you, council members and community members for powering it through tonight so we can go ahead and get it approved tonight. It's really awesome. It's very, very awesome. Thank you all. All right. We're going to be moving on then to our last item. Well, actually, before we go into our closed session, we have a matter by council members. Can one of you bring forward a motion regarding the UNC, the letter that we're gonna, the petition that we're gonna sign with the language I sent around? I don't know if anyone in particular wants to do that. I know Susan and I worked on it a little bit, but I know everyone has an interest in us having a motion in a second to sign on as a petitioner in that that petition that the Center for Biological Diversity is putting together. So
what is it that you need, Lydia? Do you need a motion to move forth with the petition?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, this is the exact the wording I said in it was
Can you put up that language? Because
I could.
Or read it, because it went out late.
I'll read it, but just to be clear though, so the motion is the motion that I want someone to make is to join a petition being drafted by the Center for Biological Diversity to object to air quality permit number blah blah for UNC Chapel Hill. Okay.
Well, I'll make that motion, and the air quality.
Motion by Randy. Let's have a second by someone. Second by Susan. And then what this means is once we vote on it and approve it, then we'll send this language off to them to insert, like describing us as one of the petitioners. And so, and this is actually the third version. We had a few edits from a few of us, but this is what it says now. Let's see. Petitioner Carrboro is a municipality of the state of North Carolina with a population of 21,295, 2020 U.S. Census Bureau. Petitioner Carrboro is deeply concerned about the peril of exposure to the Cameron Avenue cogeneration plant. Since this coal-fired cogeneration plant is located a mere 1/10 of a mile from the border of Carrboro, its emissions put at risk the health, safety, and well-being of our residents, as well as visitors to our central business district. Petitioner Carrboro is especially concerned that the plant's emissions disproportionately negatively impact the air quality for residents of Carrboro's historical Black neighborhoods of Tin Top, Pine Knolls, Lloyd Broad, and Northside, further burdening these residents. Over the last dozen years, Petitioner Carrboro has adopted robust climate justice goals through its energy and climate protection plan and community climate action plan. And thanks to everyone who all helped in on wordsmithing some of that.
Lydia, does it need to, well, it needs to say, of course, at the heading about the opposition to the permit. And
well,
give
this
the
is,
permit
see, they're doing the permit. They're the ones who are drafting all that up legally. Like Nick's looking it over and everything, but they're just inserting that paragraph into theirs because they have other petitioners as well. So
yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, good.
Okay,
well,
so
yeah, I'm moving it.
We're still discussing. We had a motion by Randy and a second by Susan, but Sammy has a question. Yeah.
Yes. Firstly, thanks for y'all that work on this. Thanks for the work on this. I just would like to suggest one word. It's really great that we're talking about the direct impact of these emissions on the neighborhood and the historically disenfranchised neighborhood. But I would suggest that in the last sentence, we say furthermore over the last dozen years, because climate justice talks about a different kind of pollution that is affecting first and foremost those who have been disenfranchised, but not necessarily directly geographically in proximity to the emission source.
So added furthermore over,
yes.
Is that what you mean? Yeah. That's a friendly amendment. Is that okay, Randy? Is that okay, Susan?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
absolutely.
You. Okay. All right. I'll get that changed before we send it on. Okay. All right. So if there's no further discussion, then we'll take a vote on that motion. All in favor, say aye. Randy?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Me? Aye. Sammy?
Aye.
Damon?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
And Jackie?
Aye.
All right, very good. All right, so now just need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to its attorney-client privilege, but 143-318-11.
So moved.
Moved by Damon, seconded by Susan. All in favor, say aye. Randy?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Me? Aye. Sammy?
Aye.
Damon?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
And Jackie?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll wait here a minute. Mary, you can let us know when all the